Welcome to episode 26 of Shane Talks, the first episode of 2021. This October, or November, December, we're kind of hectic. We didn't put out episodes every week. We had holiday stuff going on. Schedules just weren't matching up. So we're starting off 2021, getting right into it. And I am super happy for the people that I got on the show with me tonight. I have, as always, Jason Mayer, my regular co-host. I have Jason Richardson, who did 8 episodes of the podcast last year, so I'm extremely happy to have him back. And then we have Evan Miller with us, who did 3 episodes of the podcast in 2020. So these are a couple of my favorite guys to do shows with. Very happy to have them all back to kick off 2021, where we're going to talk about 2020. But we're going to talk about the stuff that we enjoyed during COVID and during our lockdown and everything that we had going on. This podcast was born out of the lockdown. Normally, Jason and Mayer and I work together, and we talk about movies pretty much nonstop every single day of our life. And that didn't happen very much in 2020. So after a couple of months of not getting to talk to each other, that's where this podcast was born from, so that we could get on here, talk about movies, talk about all kinds of different stuff, talk about 1999 a lot. In the year 2020, we did 25 full episodes. We did 4 bonus episodes. Jason Richardson and I did a commentary track for Halloween, and that added up to 2,494 minutes worth of content. If you toss in the Consternate 20th anniversary podcast that Jason and I did with a couple of the members, Dan Jason Richardson was on that one as well. If you include that one, we broke the 2,500 minute mark for 2020. So really happy and proud about the amount of content that we put out last year. Just really makes me happy. Tonight, so because as I said, schedules have been kind of hectic, I have not had a chance to meet up with my Sun King buddy, so I haven't been able to restock on some Sun King beers for this year yet. That's going to get fixed before next week's episode, but tonight I'm drinking another Indiana brewery. I got permission that I could take a week off from Sun King, so tonight I'm double fisting it with 2 of my favorite winter brews from Taxman Brewing. First up is 401 Cake. It is their brown ale that, it's a Belgian brown ale that has chocolate, coconut, and vanilla. It's supposed to be like German chocolate cake. As much as I love this beer, it really pales in comparison to the Sun King German chocolate cake variant that they did this year, which was one of my favorite beers I've ever drank. But this is an okay substitute for that. And then the second beer I'll be drinking later on in the episode is from Taxman, called Frozen Assets. It's a milk stout with a lot of chocolate in it, so it kind of just tastes like drinking creamy chocolate milk. Jason, Jason Mayer, what was it that you were drinking tonight?
I'm drinking a cherry cola rum concoction.
And that sounds absolutely delicious. Evan, I know you're on the buble, and Richardson, you're on some regular water, so cheers to all of you guys for the first episode of 2021. Looking forward to talking to you guys tonight.
And y'all may need some of this bottled water after drinking that. That's a lot of chocolate.
That is a lot of chocolate. So put out a thing on the Shane Talks Facebook page asking people for what their favorite stuff was that they watched this year. I asked you guys for your lists. We're going to take apart all 4 of our lists on this call and then throw in some other stuff that some people suggested on the Facebook page. I am the only one of the 4 of us who have watched this first show, so I'm pitching it to you because it is my favorite thing of 2020. So I'm going to pitch it to you guys to try to convince you to give it a shot. Ted Lasso is the absolute best thing that came out of 2020, and actually one of the best things I have seen in a long time. Why are you already laughing at me, Jason?
Because this is how you pitch everything that you really enjoy, and if it has anything to do with soccer, we're all screwed, and it's just going to always be. It's like time travel, non-linear storytelling, soccer. That's pretty much anything that we did. If it's got any of those, heaven help us if it had all 3 of those.
Oh, that's a script I should write.
Maybe we should write that.
Yeah.
Maybe and make it a British soccer team, obviously. So sorry.
You mentioned that to me. You mentioned that show to me, Shane, and I've got that in my. That's on Apple, right?
It's on Apple TV. Yep. Apple Plus. Yep. So here's what I'm going to say about it. It's a Jason Richardson. You liked The Queen's Gambit, right?
Loved it.
How much would you say that show is actually about chess?
It's medium. I mean, there's a lot of focus, but there's not. You know, it's really character driven and the girl's journey. But chess is kind of just a star in it.
Yep, chess is just kind of a thing that she happens to do that doesn't really matter about her journey.
Co-star.
That's how Ted Lasso is. In all 8 episodes, I'm sorry, 10 episodes. I think it's 10 episodes. In all 10 of them, there might be 10 minutes of actual soccer play. The very last episode probably has maybe like 20 minutes of soccer in it, but it all builds up to that last episode. So people who are like, I don't want to watch the show because it has to do with soccer, it's not. It has absolutely nothing to do with soccer. Ted Lasso is a feel-good character. He has an infectious happiness about him. He always looks for the good in every single person. This is a show that the first episode makes you hate almost every character except Ted Lasso. And then as the show goes on, you learn and peel away the onion layers of these characters and realize they're all really pretty good people that have just had bad things happen to them and have made them kind of shitty people. But because Ted Lasso is there and his infectious happiness and joy for life, he kind of changes them and makes them all better people. And the greatest thing about it is Ted Lasso has a lot of personal stuff going on in his life that starts peeling away as the episodes go on. And it's literally one of those things where you go, how can this guy be so happy all the time? Like, he has a lot of bad stuff that's happened in his life, but he always just chooses to be a happy person. And it's just, in 2020, where like depression and isolation and all this stuff was rampant with everybody, like to have a show that's just like, it's okay to try to be happy and to try to like get along with other people. It lifted my spirits. The first time I watched it, I literally watched the whole show in one day. It's only 10 episodes, so it's like a 6-hour binge because they're all like 30-minute episodes. I finished the show in one day. The next day I started it again. My wife came in and sat down during the first episode, and she didn't get up. We watched 5 of them that night, and then we finished it the next day. So within 3 days, I watched the show twice. I've watched it 2 more times since then because it's just got good characters to it. It's people that I like, and I like seeing their journey throughout the course of the show. And like I said, the real like soccer aspect of it doesn't hit until the very last episode. The first 2 or 3 episodes, if you like the movie Major League, you're going to really enjoy the first 2 or 3 episodes because literally it's the plot of Major League. The guy that owns this British soccer team, he's been cheating on his wife for a couple of years, so they get a divorce.
You're just going to ruin the whole show, right? Like, why do I even
I'm
pitching
I
don't know
this.
if I can go this elaborate into all these TV shows.
No. I'm just telling you, they get divorced, she takes over the team, and her decision, the reason she hires Ted Lasso, is so that he can run the team into the ground and make them a terrible team. So it's kind of the plot of Major League, but once you get going and get like into these characters, like, I mean, there is literally a character in this show that every time he speaks a word, I think Jay Hampton. That's Jay. Fuck is pretty much every other word this character says.
I like that.
Yeah, he's a really good character. So I implore you guys and anybody listening, if you need just a feel-good happiness show in your life, Ted Lasso is top-notch, well-written. Jason Sudeikis like knocks it out of the park with this character. Pretty much you haven't heard of anybody else that's in the show. They're all no-name people, but you get to really like and enjoy them. So
okay, you won me over. It's my next show I'll watch.
I love hearing that. I can't wait. You're going to watch that first episode or 2, and you are going to be hooked. It just it hooks you so quick, and you will hate the characters, and then you will learn to love them.
Okay.
All right, Jason Richardson. So on your list, you had a show that I have never seen. I want you to pitch me on the show Yellowstone.
Oh, wow. I don't think I can go as detailed as you went with the previous show.
It's all right.
What
do you like about Yellowstone?
I just started season 3, and I purchased the DVDs for my parents because they've been wanting to watch it and they weren't going to sign up for the streaming. So I just bought the DVDs on Christmas Eve. and gave them for them to watch. And then when they were done, they gave them to me. So I am now starting season 3, and I've seen commercial after commercial of this television series. I'm a huge Kevin Costner fan. He's one of my favorite actors. And for the most part, most Kevin Costner movies draw you in. There's just something good about Kevin Costner and what he chooses as work. But I really didn't know anything about it, and I just assumed that it was going to be like taking place in like the old cowboy days, cowboy and Indian days, and like I was totally wrong, and it's totally current day.
Okay.
So I think you meant Native American. Just point that out.
What'd you say?
I said I think you meant Native American. I was kidding.
What did I say?
You said cowboys and Indians.
God, stop.
Just poking fun.
That's a whole separate conversation there. Anyways, but basically it takes place in Montana, and it's a family that owns a large ranch. It's really shot in Utah, though. Beautiful scenery. But I kind of call it like it's kind of like a mixture of Dallas, the old Dallas TV show, with The Godfather with Brokeback Mountain scenery. But basically, it's about a family that owns a large ranch, and they are just greedy. Okay. They kind of run the town, and they are all about buying up as much land as possible. And you've got, corporations and people coming in wanting to build hotels, and Shane has a ghost.
Yeah, that was weird.
Okay.
My light decided
see the light. And it's just the Dutton family is ruthless, man. And if someone gets in their way, just no telling what's going to happen. But it's thrillerish. It's got cat and mouse chasing, and it's got murdering, and I mean there's just there's a lot of little twists to it and such, but it is definitely a kind of a Western updated drama. That's kind of Godfather-ish.
Kind of sounds like it reminds me of like a Western Sons of Anarchy type show.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Yeah. But it's, I don't want to give too much away, but really it's the main star is Kevin Costner. And then Luke Grimes, who plays his son, is from 50 Shades of Grey. But pretty much everyone else are, not big stars, So, but it's a wonderful show. The first couple episodes are a little dry, and it's kind of building the characters up and such. But if you give it a couple episodes,
I was going to say I stopped after episode 2 or 3.
Oh, really?
I was kind of pumped for it, and because of it being Kevin Costner, and I'm right there with you, Jay Bird, that most of the time when Kevin Costner does something, I'm like, you know what? I want to watch this. I want to entertain myself with it. And I started watching it, and I was just like, it's fine. It's good. I got like 2 to 3 episodes in, and I was just like, I don't need to keep going.
It's one of those things where if you just kind of force yourself, then you kind of all of a sudden you're like, okay, I get it now. Like, okay, I'm into it. And you start picking up on the characters, and you're intrigued, and there's some little twist here and there. And it builds up to something worthy of watching, especially during 2020. But now we're in 2021, but highly recommend it. It's well done for what it is.
All right, Evan, on your list, you were one of the few people that had more films than you had like streaming stuff. And one of your films was Promising Young Woman, which obviously the trailer has me interested, but I haven't made time to watch it yet. I want you to pitch it to me on why I should watch Promising Young Woman.
Promising Young Woman. I remember seeing half the trailer. So when I went in to see it, I was expecting something a little bit different than what I was given, but that's not a bad thing. I went through Carey Mulligan's resume. I've never seen anything that starred Carey Mulligan.
Really?
She's got about 30 film credits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I haven't seen a single one of her movies. So let me preface that by saying she's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. She did an incredible job with what she was given. can't give a whole lot away without spoiling anything.
Okay.
So I will say that
Never Let Me Go. That's the
you
one
know,
that I really
wasn't
liked.
sure. I wasn't sure where the film was going to go. If you like a movie with twists and turns, it's definitely something I would absolutely recommend.
Okay.
And the ending is something I could not have predicted.
Oh, okay.
Which for me, there are a few movies where you're kind of like, I can kind of tell where this is going.
Sure.
Nope, didn't see it coming.
Okay. Both
so
the Jasons, have you
I highly recommend it.
I've not seen it, but my best friend saw it, and it's his favorite film of the year. He raves about this movie. I just haven't gone to see it yet, but it's definitely on my list. I want to see it. And I like the idea of going into it not knowing what to expect. And sometimes that's the best experience.
Sure. Mayor, have you seen it?
I have not. One of our employees, Aaron Margolis Greenbaum, had seen it. And he said that he kind of said it was okay, but not that great. And he didn't love it. But he's the only one out of anybody who has seen it. He's the only one I've heard. And he didn't say it was like bad. He just didn't say he didn't like it a whole lot. Yeah. He thought it was very implausible for most of it, is the way he kind of phrased it. So, but I mean, to each their own. Sure. So, I mean.
Well, I tell you what, if you guys really like Carey Mulligan a lot, probably my favorite film of hers, besides I haven't seen this one, is An Education. Highly recommend watching that film. It's an independent film. It's great.
Why do I know that? Who else is in that?
The guy who is married to what's her name? Brokeback Mountain dude's sister, Jake Gyllenhaal's sister, Maggie Gyllenhaal. Peter Skarsgård.
Okay.
Yeah, Peter Skarsgård. Yep. Alfred Molina's in it. Olivia Williams is in it.
Just a fantastic movie.
It's got a 7.3 out of 10 on
It's
IMDb.
kind of effed up a little bit, but you just kind of get thrown into it. And this is quirky characters and just a good movie. So I recommend y'all watch that if you like Carey Mulligan. So.
Yeah, that was definitely on my radar like 10 years ago, and I don't know why.
I think it played at Castleton Art, I think, too.
Gotcha. Yeah,
maybe
Never Let Me Go.
Or Landmark, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a Landmark movie.
Landmark, okay.
Never Let Me Go is the one that I've seen her in that I just absolutely really loved. I thought she was also her and Keira Knightley and Andrew Garfield were in that one.
Okay.
I really enjoy that flick. All right, Mr. Mayor, you saw the movie Unhinged. No.
Nope.
Yes. No. Greenland. Greenland. Sorry.
Yes, Greenland.
You saw Greenland.
I saw Unhinged.
Yeah, we'll get to Unhinged in a minute. I looked at the wrong part of the script. Jason, you saw Greenland, and I haven't seen it yet. What are your thoughts on that, and why should I watch it?
Well, first of all, Gerard Butler, right? Like every time he makes bad movies plenty of the time.
Oh, sure.
He's like 50-50 usually. Like I usually really enjoy his movies or really dislike his movies.
Oh, that's that movie. Okay.
This is the end of the world scenario. Basically, so these asteroids are coming to Earth and are going to be planet killers and kill most of the people on the planet. And he's married to Morena Baccarin from Firefly and Deadpool. And while he living through the late 90s, we saw all sorts of these kind of movies. Armageddon, Dante's Peak,
Deep Impact.
Then you also had later on The Day After Tomorrow and 2012 and all these disaster films. And most of them, if you think about it, one of the reasons I like Armageddon the most is because it's very character driven. And it's like they're doing this thing because they have to, but it's not like the main focus of the movie. It's more of a character thing. Well, go ahead, Jay Bird. What were you going to say? You don't like
I'm not saying anything. I was just giving you a look like, okay.
Well, no, and that's the interesting thing about Greenland for me was I was expecting it to suck, especially with the time frame that was originally coming out.
January.
And so it was one of those movies where I was like, this is going to be a throwaway, but it's only like 100 minutes long or something like that. And it's like, I can burn that. That's no problem as far as the time frame. So, but this one is focused on their relationship and their kid. And the incident that's happening all over the world is kind of the backstory. But it's literally just them trying to figure out how to get together. So I felt more drawn to them as characters than I have in most disaster films, because most disaster films, in my opinion, are just CGI orgies for it's just like, oh, look, we could make all these buildings fall down and lava come out and all this other crap. And it's like, most of the time it's just so mind numbing and just like like San Andreas, right? Like the only reason I like that movie is because it's The Rock, and the girl who played his daughter is really hot. Like that's really the only reason why
that's just a brainless, fun movie to watch.
Absolutely. It's brainless and fun. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but compared to this, at least this had some more character development and it was entertaining for me. So
what was I'm getting this confused with, didn't he just have a disaster movie before this? Gerard Butler?
Geostorm.
Yes.
Geostorm.
Wasn't he in that?
I don't even remember
that. Geostorm? I don't even know that movie.
Yeah, so I was thinking like, did they bring this movie back out? And why are they doing that?
Of course, Evan owns this ridiculous movie we're talking about.
Oh, Geostorm. Geostorm was in 2017. This one's 2020.
But it did have Gerard Butler, though, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Okay, which is hilarious, right? Because like Gerard Butler, Geostorm gets a 5.3 on the IMDb, right? Okay. And now I'm pulling up Greenland, and it's only a 6.4. But
it's better at least.
I think I might have seen Geostorm, but I can tell you that I enjoyed Greenland, and especially Gerard Butler and Morena Baccarin together. Like it's worth watching in my opinion, just for the cast, and I enjoyed the film.
What is that on? What is that streaming on?
Amazon.
Okay,
I think.
So do they end up in Greenland at the end of the movie, or like
ruining your movie, man? Not ruining it.
We'll know in an hour and 29 minutes.
Right. So, well, the whole premise is that there's a bunker in Greenland that is where they can go for a certain amount of time.
Gotcha.
That they can be protected from all the radiation and everything else that would be happening throughout the world because of sun blockage and stuff like that. So
nice.
Maybe they can get Ben Affleck and Bruce Willis to save them.
Bruce Willis would just walk on set and be like, "I'm too old for this shit," and just walk right off, like not care. So, and Ben Affleck would probably go whoop-de-doo or something. But no, it was worth my time and effort. Well, it was very little effort, but since I got to stream it here at home, it's something I really wish I would have seen in the theater, because I think it would have worked a lot better for the sequences that are there.
Sure.
That are about destroying the earth, that I would have enjoyed it a lot more on.
You have said that about every single movie that you have watched. I've seen your Facebook posts.
No.
Would have been better in the theater. I'm
true.
like,
Palm Springs, while I love that movie, does not need to be seen on the big screen.
To be on the big screen. No, that movie.
I would have watched it on the big screen if I had the option, but since I didn't, it's not one of those ones. But like something that has, or like Wonder Woman 84, that I have HBO Max. I still made the effort to go to the theater to watch that. Unfortunately,
and it wasn't worth our time to go to the theater to watch it.
No,
did y'all see that at the place?
We QC'd it. We QC'd it.
We watched it at Landmark.
At the G Theater?
No. At the
no, we couldn't watch it there.
Theater. No.
Keystone. That's what I was wondering. Okay. All right.
We couldn't watch it at Glendale because we wouldn't have had the digital keys and stuff. But I had the opportunity. We had the opportunity to go quality check it for our sister theater, and we went and did that. And literally at one point I looked over at Shane. We were like an hour in, and I was like, "Oh my god, like, is this as bad as I think it is?" And he was like, yes.
I just not had the energy to even turn it on, watch it.
It's an energy sucker though, Jaybird. Like it's
about an hour too long.
Yes.
Oh dude, totally is.
Because there's so much fat on this movie that like there's so much that just didn't need to be there. Like,
like I said, I looked at him like an hour into it and said, is this bad? And he said yes. He looked at me half an hour later and goes, "We still have an hour to go." And I was like, oh, man, come on.
Well, maybe this kind of worked out, and maybe they knew they had a pan film and it kind of worked out for the streaming thing. And then they got a little box office off of it. So now they can blame it on, the pandemic and it not doing well.
Of course they can.
Oh, yep.
I mean, and what's interesting about it is I'm sitting here looking, it's got a 5.5 on the IMDb, and I think that's too generous.
Yep, I agree.
I think that I was way more bored than 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
But I see they greenlit 3 and possibly 4 now. 3.
Yep.
Well, and what's weird is I read somebody's comment, a mutual friend of some of ours, and they were like, you fan, and he was ripping on fanboys, essentially saying like this wasn't for fanboys, or this was new, it went over your head if you're just a fanboy. And it's like, no, I want to see a good movie. That's it. I don't care if it's Wonder Woman. I don't care if it's Greenland. I just want something that's going to entertain me, and I like it. Like, that's all I want. Just do a good quality film.
Yeah.
So that's going to leave HBO Max soon, and then it'll just be in theaters, and then it'll go like to video and then cable, right?
I don't
have
know,
idea how that's working.
I don't know if it's actually leaving HBO Max.
I thought they were doing HBO Max for like just a month.
Days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
First 30 days.
Gotcha. Yeah, I literally just don't even care. Like, I hated that movie so much, and I really enjoyed the first one, so I had high hopes for this.
The first one's good.
I have
and it has some amazing sequences in it, but the first one's not that great either. But it definitely has one of my favorite scenes of all time with her
going through no man's land. Yep.
It was absolutely perfect.
I have to admit something with those films. Yep. Like, and this is my issue with any of these comic book superhero things, and Jason's probably going to like bitch slap me through the phone here.
Probably not.
I like a little backstory with these people, but all these damn comic book people go back to these places that look like they're from like 1400 or something. And I find myself bored when they're back at those places. I want them to be in the city, running around, doing their thing. I don't want to go back to like Thor. When Thor goes back home up in the clouds somewhere, it's like, I'm bored. I want Thor down in the city, knocking his hammer somewhere. You know what I mean? And then I like Wonder Woman in the city or in the current time doing her thing and whatnot. We're always going back to these obscure looking places that look like it's from like, 1800, or like gladiator period or something, and it's just like, I'm sorry. I just had to say that.
You'll probably want to skip the first 10 minutes of Wonder Woman then, because that's all.
Well,
that is.
I kind of admit, all right, Christmas Day, I hooked my thing up and I kind of watched 5 minutes, and they were doing a little triathlon thing or whatever the hell they're doing, and the little girl was kind of cheating and stuff, and I was just kind of like, oh God, we're here.
And
I stopped it.
You know what's crazy about that? Like, in a good storytelling format, that scene at the beginning would matter because Diana learned something that later in life she could apply to the situation that she would find herself in the movie later. But that's not what happens in this movie. That scene's there for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, but Shane, it's there because she has to learn to tell the truth. And then she has to tell the whole world that they have to tell the truth.
Well, I never connected those dots. Thanks for explaining that to me. Yeah, I did not connect those dots. That's why that was there. No, that was a 15-minute opening sequence that was literally just attempted eye candy that had no point to the rest of the movie. Yeah, I'm not a fan.
We're on a tangent.
We are. All right, we're done. We're gonna.
Well, it did come out this year. That's worthy of talking about.
It did, but it wasn't enjoyable.
But it didn't make our list, though.
No, it wasn't enjoyable. What was enjoyable, universally enjoyable on all four of us, and pretty much everybody who commented on Facebook, was Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai hit Netflix in June of 2020. Here's my backstory with Cobra Kai. Like 3 years ago now, in like 2018, when Cobra Kai hit YouTube Red, they made the pilot episode free to try to entice people to join YouTube Red. So I was excited. I love the Karate Kid movies. Like, I was really excited to watch it. I watched the pilot like in June of 2018. Was not interested enough to be sold to ever subscribe to YouTube Red. I was just, okay, it's whatever. Like, I wasn't a big Johnny Lawrence fan at the time, so watching the pilot episode pretty much focuses on him. I was just kind of like, blah, like, I don't really care about Cobra Kai. Once it hit Netflix, I was like, you know what? Like, a lot of people have been saying good things about this. I should give it another go. And I'm so glad that I did. It it's so enjoyable on so many levels, not even just nostalgia level. Like, they created a good set of characters, gave them reasons to be in each other's lives, and just really did a good job of telling fun stories about kids getting back into karate, and the two, well, the dad and Johnny Lawrence, like, mentoring children. And I'm so happy that I gave it another shot.
I think it's going to open up a door kind of like what Netflix did in streaming and then binge watching. I think they were very smart in what they did, and I was afraid to watch it, and I didn't do the YouTube thing and whatnot. And I was thinking, like, good Lord, bringing Karate Kid back. Oh God, whatever, but again, you mentioned it came on the Netflix in the summertime. I didn't watch it until, December-ish.
Oh, really?
And I was just immediately sucked in, and it totally throws you back to that period. But what I like about it, and I think we're going to see a trend here, is that I think they did a good job in trying to figure out, well, where are these characters today?
Sure.
And how can we give some type of redemption to these characters, specifically Johnny? And what's kind of really teeing me off a little bit is everybody's coming up with these excuses or whatnot, but basically saying that Johnny was the bully. And I'm like, not Johnny, Daniel was the bully. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, come on. When we're watching that movie back in the day, Daniel was not the damn bully, but I could see how now you kind of want to say that.
But that's second or third episode. Well, first of all, so we all were exposed to like the How I Met Your Mother episode where they had William Zabka on there, and Barney did the whole spin about how Daniel was the bad guy in the Karate Kid and how Johnny was the Karate Kid. Like, we all saw that like 10 years ago. The fact that they literally brought that into the show, and in the like second or third episode, when him and Miguel are just sitting there and like he's drinking a beer and he's telling Miguel his side of the story, which is
brilliant.
Yeah, that was so good.
Brilliant.
You're listening to it and you're like, oh wow, like I can see where he was coming from on his side.
Oh, exactly. And you think about it, if you think about back to the original film and really kind of go back and watch it, I mean, Johnny really, there was no character depth there. So it was just like he was the bad guy. And so it's like, okay, how can we get a different perspective, or his perspective basically. And I love where they have gone with this character, and I think he has redeemed himself. He's humanized himself, and I love that. And I think
a lot of that has to do with the realization that even in the first film, Johnny was just an extension of Kreese. Like, Kreese is really the bad guy of the first movie, but he pushes it all through Johnny to do all of the stuff that happens in that movie.
And you can tell they are having, and I'll stop talking here, that you can tell that they are all having fun with it, and it's working. Like, this isn't just to do it. It's actually going somewhere, and it's of, benefit to everybody. So
sure. Jason Mayer, what were you about to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, Evan, what are your thoughts on the series?
I mean, I remember hearing it was coming out, and I was like, I didn't really ask to see this. Like, it wasn't something I was like, yeah, give me more Karate Kid after all these years. But this is exactly how, like, a sequel to a movie should probably play out now. Something from back then, you're going to bring it back. This is how you do it. Like, I don't need like a 2-hour movie.
Nope.
Give me a series. These aren't just glorified cameos either that you're getting.
Yeah, they do such a good job.
They're playing a pivotal role in these parts.
They do such a good job of showing us these people 30 years later. Like, he went into the car business. Johnny is like still kind of I wouldn't say a piece of shit, but he's kind of down on his luck. He, lives in a shitty apartment complex. Like, yeah. And the thing that I've loved about going through the course of the show, and I think Evan and I were talking about this a couple of days ago, is like, I've opened up to Johnny. I've warmed up to him. I don't hate him like I did back, when I was a kid and I watched The Karate Kid and I thought he was the bad guy. Like, they have flipped me. They've won me over on the Johnny aspect. And I love the fact that he honestly isn't a bad dude. He's got a lot of good intentions, but he doesn't always make the right choice. There are times where he is presented a situation where I should go be with my son, or I should go do this other thing instead, and he makes the decision that the other thing is more important. And it's like, you want to think, oh, Johnny's like such a good dude again. He's trying to be a good dad, and then he does something, and you're like, oh, Johnny, why'd you know that's the wrong thing to do? But I like the fact that they humanized him in that way, where he's a guy that he thinks he's making a good choice, but it ultimately ends up being a bad choice.
And do you know what the weird thing is so I just powered through all 3 seasons really quickly right after the 3rd season dropped.
Mm-hmm.
So I got it all done within like a 2-week, 3-week period, something like that, whatever the case, right?
Took you that long?
Huh?
I was like, it took you that long?
I have 4 kids and I play video games. So like that takes up some time too. Anyway, so one of the things that I thought was interesting though is I ended up buying the digital versions of all 3 Karate Kid movies with Daniel's son.
Yep. And
I'm watching the first one and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, Daniel's an asshole.
Yep.
Whether like Johnny Lawrence is the bad guy.
Sure.
But it's not like Daniel's a good kid. He's kind of a jerk. Like, even, and maybe it's because of the way that, like, I don't know if it's because of the bad writing that they were doing back then, or if it's because of the fact that they were trying to spin you on this whole idea of him being like, he's so disconnected because of them moving to California from New Jersey that he's just like, I don't like anybody. But like, even when Allie's like trying to like be nice to him and stuff, he's like, you know what? Like, it's the point in time where they're like leaving the school. And she's like, you're going to have to deal with this at some point. He's like, I'll deal with it my way. You deal with yours. And he like walks away, but he says it in a dick manner. And it's like, I don't feel bad for this kid getting his ass kicked all the time.
But you know what though? If Cobra Kai never was birthed, we wouldn't have had that feeling.
Oh no, absolutely not. Like,
yeah, that's the thing that's amazing about you know, I want to say art, but you know, storytelling, and that they could here's a story, and you know, now 30-something years later, and you can just change your whole perception.
But it's awesome, right?
It is.
Like,
it is.
After watching all of Cobra Kai and knowing, I mean, I knew that first Karate Kid movie really well. The second and third, I don't remember a whole lot. I mean, I remember somewhat of the plot, but I don't remember everything. But that first one I knew really, really well because it played a lot in my house when I was growing up. But like, watching all of Cobra Kai and then going back, and I haven't seen the original Karate Kid in probably 15 years. And so now going back and I'm like, you're way more of a dick than I ever thought you were. Like, while I'm watching this now, and it's just kind of awesome, man. And like Evan said, like, it's one of those things where like, this is almost exactly how sequels go, like should go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And to piggyback onto this, and we can get into it more with Mandalorian, but like I was talking to Shane and Evan a couple of weeks ago, and apparently Marvel's talking about moving towards more of a being a presence on Disney Plus, and probably dropping how many movies they release in theaters, which I'm like, that's fine, because comic books used to come out once a month, and I used to read them for years and years and years. So if you're going to give me a serial series that's of the same quality, and I'm just going to get it once a week, and
they don't raise them prices.
Well, and don't get me wrong, like, I know Jaybird, you might not want to watch all of WandaVision or something, or like if they have 8 series that come out in a year's time, you're not going to catch all of those. But for like a nerd like myself, most of the Marvel stuff and most of the Star Wars stuff, I'm probably going to end up watching all of it.
Yep.
So
what is WandaVision?
Oh, this comes out Friday. It's the story. It's the story of the oh my God, witch. Scarlet Witch from the Avengers. Elizabeth Olsen.
Oh, is it on Disney Plus?
It's on Disney Plus. Yep.
Her and the android. His name's Vision, and they have a TV show that's supposed. I don't know how many episodes it is, like 12 episodes.
9 episodes.
Okay. Yeah, and it comes out starting this Friday, and it's like I'm excited to watch that.
On Friday.
And it's probably going to be something that my guess is at the end of it, it's going to have some huge ramification, my guess, towards the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I'm excited for it.
I wanted to ask you guys something real quick before you leave Cobra.
Yep.
So watching that and then kind of just referring back or thinking in my head, like, oh my God, I remember being a kid watching Karate Kid in the movie theaters.
Oh, okay.
And then what really freaked me out was just like, man, that was really a long, long time ago. It doesn't seem like it was, but it was. But it was like, if you think about it, the Karate Kid came out in 1984, right? Which to me sounds like, it sounds like it'd be later in the 80s. 1984, I'm sitting there thinking like, that was only 4 years after the 70s. Like, I'm like, and when you say 70s now, 70s is like
50 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was very retro old. And I'm thinking like, okay, this is only 4 years after the 70s. Damn, we are old now.
Jaybird, no, we're all old. Think about this. It's been 22 years since we started working together. 22 years ago was when I was at Clearwater with you and Jason was at Castleton.
Summer of Armageddon.
21 years ago since the Phantom Menace came out.
Yeah. We've
22 this year.
No. 22. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. 22.
Yeah, but think of that. And then, I looked it up and it was like, okay, that was like, Ghostbusters, Beverly Hills Cop, period, and whatnot. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, we are some old ass people now.
We really are. So the one thing I want to do before we move on from Cobra Kai is, did you guys know that Martin Kove's son is in Cobra Kai?
Yes.
I'm really disappointed because he's not the character. Okay, so Jason, Martin Kove's son, I don't know what his first name is, but he, in the flashback to the diner sequence, he's the asshole football player.
Okay.
Which upsets me, because if you've got a young version of Martin Kove's character, why isn't his son playing the young version of Martin Kove? Like,
because maybe he's they just wanted to have a little Easter egg in it or something. You know what I mean?
I get that, but like the younger character isn't that big of a part that he like. I don't understand why. This is your dad. Here's his younger version of his character. You should play him.
Maybe the son couldn't balance himself on the balance sequence before getting in the alligator pit or something. I don't.
It's one of those things where I think it's cool that his son was able to like be part of the Karate
Kid universe.
That's really awesome. But he didn't.
And I would have never known that unless I saw that on the internet. So.
Oh, also, did you guys know that was not Anthony Michael Hall in season 3?
I never thought he was in that.
Oh, I literally thought that his boss, the guy that recruits him in the army, I thought that was Anthony Michael Hall.
Oh, okay.
And you could totally see why. And Shane sent me a side-by-side comparison between the two.
Anthony Michael Hall was shooting Halloween at the time.
Which, again, why? I guess they had to cast Anthony Michael Hall because of the fact that Paul Rudd looks the exact same as he did 20 years ago. Like, I don't understand why Paul Rudd couldn't come back and play Tommy
Paul
Doyle
Rudd
again.
did Ghostbusters instead. He was committed to Ghostbusters.
Well, so obviously Hollywood is all kinds of stupid, because this is all kinds of casting choices that I would have made differently.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so great Cobra Kai talk. Let's move on now to The Mandalorian.
You just take a sip of that chocolate beer.
Jason, have you finished it yet?
Who?
You. Richardson.
No, I got about 15. Okay, so I like Star Wars, but I got about 15 minutes into it. I was a little bored. So I got to be I've got to be in the right frame of mind. And I got bored when he was on the plane thing and he froze the dude.
Oh, wow. So like 7 minutes into the show. Cool.
Yeah, I was like, no, it's one of those things where I know I'm going to really like it. But for me, Star Wars, for me is, and I'll be real short on this. So here's the thing. I started up a Star Wars fan page on Facebook, right?
Yep. I'm happily a part of it. I really enjoy the content. Mark Fisher is an awesome
Yes, I gave Mark control because it got too overwhelming for me, because I initially just started it because of the one that came out 5 years ago. What is it? The Force Awakens.
Yep.
I was just kind of keeping it simple, right? Then all these people started joining, and then like it was cult Star Wars. Like so many people were so going into like the comics and then the cartoons, and I mean not the comics, the cartoons and all these. It was just, I was starting to look stupid, like I really didn't know Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And the Mandalorian for me, and some of the language, it's a lot of character. I'm like, who are these characters? I don't know who these people are. I don't have Luke. I don't have Leia. I don't have Darth. And I'm just kind of like, everything is foreign to me, and I can't quite grasp. You know what I mean? And so I just need to let it flesh out a little bit and just force myself.
What I will say about this is, after you finish Ted Lasso, you need to give Mandalorian at least 3 episodes.
I will.
Because the first 2 episodes are extremely slow. Lots of character development, but it doesn't really feel like character development. It feels very slow. But the great thing about The Mandalorian season 1 specifically is a lot of the episodes kind of are just like, well, that was a weird little like side quest that he just went and did. But when you get to the last couple of episodes of the show, of the season 1, it makes sense of why everything happened. Like,
why
it's one
they
of those
did
shows,
what they did.
Yeah, it's one of the shows that pulls everything together in the last like 2 or 3 episodes, and you go, oh man, like all this other stuff from the first part of the season makes sense. Luckily, the second season kind of does it again, but not on the same magnitude. Like, the things that happen in the second season are a lot more, we know what's going on, we know where this is going, but there are moments in the second season that as a Star Wars fan who likes Luke and who likes Leia and who likes, Ahsoka Tano from the cartoons, like, there are moments in the second season that I was literally almost in tears. I was so happy for what I was seeing on screen. Like, things in live action Star Wars canon content that made me as a Star Wars fan beaming with joy. And I think if you let yourself get to that point, you will really enjoy. You will become very emotionally invested in these characters, even though they're not your Skywalker Saga people.
Right.
You will be, because throughout the course of the 2 seasons, they touch on little things from the original trilogy. Like, he ends up on Tatooine at one point, and so you're like, oh, I know Tatooine. Like, I know these places he's at now, and it just it slowly drip feeds you the nostalgia throughout the course of the 2 seasons. But I am telling you right now, you as a Star Wars fan that you are of the original trilogy, when you finish this series, you will feel like you're 12 years old again. You will feel like a kid. It will give you so much nostalgia that you will just be beaming with joy.
Well, I know a lot of people are a lot more happy with it compared to the theatrical releases over the last several years. So
100%.
Did Jason and Evan like them? Like it?
Go ahead, Evan.
I finished season 1. I have not finished season 2 yet.
Oh man,
I got caught up in Cobra Kai and finished that. I do. I think it's a phenomenal show, though. I think it's everything you probably wanted out of the movies at this point. Like
100%.
And again, it's one of these things where it's like, this is what they probably should have done.
Yep.
Keep doing these, episodic things.
Yep, I agree.
So when you're watching it, are you thinking, man, I wish I could see this on a big screen?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I see, and this is where I kind of differ with these guys. I don't mind my TV at home. I've got a 65-inch television. I love it. I think it's big enough for me. But there is the season 2 finale. I really agree with Jason that I would have loved to have seen the season 2 finale on the big screen for the last 15 minutes of it. Like, I mean, I would have watched the whole episode, but the last 15 minutes of the season 2 finale deserved a theatrical big screen. Like, it's that epic of a fight.
Okay.
So I liked the first season. I thought the first season was good. It was way better than what we got from the sequel trilogy. This second season, from the 5th episode until the end, it just never lets up. And it's, I mean, we could go on about it all day. It's fantastic. It is something easily that if it were on Blu-ray, I'd probably buy it just so that I could watch it at work on the big screen, pumping through the sound system, just because that's what I would prefer for something that in all last, what is that, 10 episodes in a season?
Yeah.
Or 12?
No, it's 10.
You think they'll eventually do that?
No, because they're just going to try and convince you to get Disney Plus. So they're just going to leave it on Disney Plus, and they probably won't make a physical copy ever. That's kind of like one of the last shifts I had over at Keystone before around Thanksgiving. I ended up talking to somebody, and I was telling them how much I really enjoyed Greyhound. Fantastic movie with Tom Hanks. It's on Apple TV.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about Greyhound as far as the history of it or anything like that. And I like war movies, especially well done war movies. And the lady was like, do you think that's ever going to be on, or do you think it's on Blu-ray? And I was like, I don't know. And then one of the other managers, he was like, Ryan said, no, it most likely Apple's just going to, they paid such a high price for it. They're just going to leave it on Apple, and they're never going to release a DVD, so that you have to watch it on Apple if you're going to.
They need to get some more shit on Apple.
But you're only paying $5 a month. You're only paying $5 a month right now, $6 a month.
Well, give me some $5 more. Give me some more. Give me some more. A little bit.
So Jaybird, after
get me out of the $5 bid.
After Ted Lasso, have you watched Servant on Apple Plus, the M. Night Shyamalan series?
Oh yeah. Oh. Is that about the baby?
About the baby, yeah. You watched that?
Yeah. Okay.
That was
so I watched.
good.
I watched the first season. Is the second one out yet?
Second one comes out this Friday.
Okay, I'll be totally on that, and I'll have to go back to the first season and watch the last episode again. That's got the chick from 6 Feet Under.
Yes. Yeah.
Lauren something.
Lauren Ambrose.
Yeah, that show is the interesting thing about that show is like. I didn't know what I was in for, and I'm like, I'll just play it because it was on Apple TV. Because
and it's M. Night Shyamalan.
And so with all like 3 shows that are on Apple TV, and so I didn't know where it was going, and I still feel like there's a lot of mystery to it. That you're like, where is this going? And I like the fact that I don't know where I'm going, and it's just like kind of effed up.
There was a lot of effed up stuff that happened in the first season. Every episode drew me in. The finale was what the fuck moment in the finale. Like Shyamalan knocked it. I know he didn't direct all of them, but I know that he's like the showrunner on it, and the concept he's come up with is amazing for it. But watch Ted Lasso on Apple Plus before you get reinvested.
I'm not going to nix my Apple TV.
All right, so
I'm helping the stock people out.
Jaybird. At some point, give Mandalorian a huge chunk of your time. Evan, definitely hurry up and get through season 2 before things get spoiled for you, because what it builds up to...
I know what happens. I spoiled it for myself.
Oh, that sucks. What it builds up to at the end of season 2 is so phenomenal. So the first season's very good on its own, but I was more emotionally invested in season 2 with the characters they brought in and the story they drew you into. Like as much as I loved season 1 when it aired, season 2 is by far phenomenally better. All right, Evan, let's go on to your theatrical films list for this year. This is a movie I didn't even... Right. 2020 was so long that I forgot Bad Boys came out in 2020.
January.
When
I got one of the last movies I saw.
We were busy with that movie, Shane.
Evan's list said Bad Boys, and I went, that wasn't 2020. That was like 2 years ago. And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, that was 2020. Man, that was 1 year ago-ish, and it feels like 3 years ago. What about Bad Boys? It was one of the
last movies I was able to see.
What about Bad Boys made you put it on the list?
For life.
I mean, if you haven't seen it, how spoilery am I allowed to be here?
Time out, Evan.
Yeah.
They've already announced they're doing Bad Boys 4, so why wouldn't you save Bad Boys for life for your marketing campaign for the 4th movie? Like, Bad Boys, the number 4, life. Like, why?
I'm
why
pretty
is he-
sure that they thought this was going to be the last one. I don't think that they thought it was going to be such a box office success. And honestly, I don't think that they realized how much fun they were actually going to have doing it. Because you could tell how much fun both of them are having. Revisiting these characters so many years later.
Against movies like that, where I'm like, dude, it's been 20 years. I hated Bad Boys 2. Like, why are you guys doing this? I'm not interested in it. And I watched it with Jason Mayer, and I loved it. It is far superior to Bad Boys 2.
I own 1 and 3. I will never own 2.
Yeah, I hate Bad Boys 2. I absolutely
2
hate
is horrid.
it. And this movie.
All right, well, I'm the exception to that rule. I do like Bad Boys 2, but then again, I love Michael Bay, and I'm the only person you're going to find who probably loves every Michael Bay movie that there is.
I like Michael Bay stuff too, but you can tell it's Michael Bay. Wait a second. I don't. Wait a minute. How are y'all? How can y'all be? Okay, you are not a movie fan. If there's a film out where it's got, part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or whatever, right? You buy the whole damn trilogy you buy the whole series. No. You may not like. Look, here's an example. You may not like Bad Boys 2, right? But 10 years down the road, you're gonna be kind of curious.
No.
Let me go back to In Between and watch.
So that I can go back and I can watch the movie where they made Marcus and Mike not like each other anymore after building them up in the first movie as being blood brothers
Bad
for
Boys
life. Bad
have
Boys
ruffles,
for life.
man.
And that second movie is so fucking retarded.
Brothers
it has nothing. They have nothing but hate for each other in that second movie, and it does not work.
That would
be like me not having Jaws for the Revenge in my collection.
You shouldn't have Jaws for the Revenge.
No, Jaws for the Revenge is
bad,
horribly bad, but fun.
Okay, so we're before Evan gets to chime back in real quick, I'm going to say, first of all, I only own The Mummy. I don't own The Mummy Returns. I don't own the third one.
Nope.
I only own The Matrix. I don't own the second one. I don't own the third one. I probably, unless the fourth one's amazing, which it might be, I might buy that. But
nowadays you can get them so cheap bundled together. But there's my curiosity. There's a curiosity that I have.
Well, here's the deal. I had Bad Boys 1 on DVD. Never bought the Blu-ray for whatever reason. I ended up buying Bad Boys 1 on digital because I enjoy the movie so much. Bad Boys 1 and 2 were both on Netflix when I did that. So to prepare for Bad Boys 3, I watched the first one and then I watched the second one again because I put myself through it. And then I was like, yes, I still have made the correct decision to never purchase this movie. There's one movie that I can tell you that I absolutely hate. It's X-Men The Last Stand. You know why I own it? Because there was a bundle. It was $40 or something, or $25 for you to get all three of them or something, whatever the case may be. I got the third one because of that.
I paid $10 for that bundle on Apple.
Okay, maybe it was $10, whatever the case may be. I paid it because I wanted 1 and 2, and 3 is thrown in for a freebie as far as I'm
exactly concerned. How I looked at it. I paid $5 for 1 and 2, and 3 was free.
I can skip really bad movies and sequences because you know what? If you cut number 2 out, the only thing you're really missing when you're watching number 3 is the fact that he says, like, the time I dumped your sister. Like, that's the only thing that might not make any sense.
Yep.
If you have never seen part 2. Yep. But you know what? It really doesn't matter because they're best friends from when they were really little. Yep. So he could have dated her when he was in high school for all we know.
And if you want to call me out on being a Michael Bay fan, first of all, Michael Bay only made 3 good movies and 1 music video. After Armageddon, he went so downhill.
He's good at He's good at producer.
Yes,
Evan, I got you. Evan, I got your back. I got your back.
Hijacked Evan. We've hijacked it. He doesn't even get to talk.
I like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I really liked a lot.
He didn't direct
that one.
He produced it. He didn't direct it.
I said produce. I said he produced it.
He's produced some other stuff that I liked.
Yep.
Evan, we are so sorry. Was that your favorite Bad Boys movie of all of them?
What, Bad Boys 2 or Bad Boys 3? I would actually say, Bad Boys 1 is still my favorite.
Okay.
I think without question. Looking at 1, 2, and 3, I can understand why a lot of people don't like 2. And that's because if you look right now, 1 and 3 are very similar in tone. They're very similar in just general stylization and shots and things like that. Number 2 is a Michael Bay film. Number 1 was also Michael Bay, but that was pre-Michael Bay, like before he started doing everything. So those are 2 very different films directed by the same individual, but like number 2 is a very Michael Bay film. I know what I'm getting with Michael Bay.
The Rock is a very Michael Bay film, and it's still good. Thank God they haven't tried to do a sequel to that yet. Armageddon, very Michael Bay film, and I still really enjoy it. But then literally after that, Michael Bay decided that he wanted to be Michael Bay so badly that he overbayed everything that he did.
I like the first Transformers. I'll give you that one. I personally like The Island. I enjoyed that movie. I had fun with that one. I
do like that.
But like besides those 2,
Harbor? I like Pearl Harbor.
Nope.
I like the attack on Pearl Harbor from Pearl Harbor, but from the rest of the movie, I'm done. I don't need it.
I like when Ben Affleck is just trying to woo women.
I like the first Transformers, the second and the third,
and the fourth and the fifth.
The second and third, I have in my collection because it got Shia LaBeouf. But the Mark Wahlberg part, okay, there you got me, Jason. I just won't buy it.
You know what? I bought all of them except for the second one on digital, just because my son watched the first one and liked it so much. He watched Bumblebee and liked the first and liked Bumblebee so much that I was like, here, you can have all these Transformers movies.
Oh.
I still think the best Transformers movie ever. The best Transformers movie ever was the animated one from 1986. 86.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, we've gone on our Michael Bay tangent. The next movie, I am pretty sure all 4 of us love. It just barely didn't make my top 10 or my top 5 list. It's definitely in my top 10. Evan, you had The Invisible Woman, and Jason Richardson, you had The Invisible Man. Sorry, The Invisible Man.
I'm like, what you talking about?
Yeah, sorry. Well, because let's be honest, they set it up to the sequel would have been called The Invisible Woman.
How much chocolate you got in that beer?
Okay, I'm telling you, I'm on my 3rd beer. I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Okay.
The Invisible Man, which was supposed to be like the savior for the Dark Universe, didn't happen, but it is the best film that they put out in that attempted Dark Universe series.
Well,
but
I mean, it got screwed. The pandemic hit, and I'm sorry, Evan, go ahead. What'd you say?
No, I was saying, like, I don't think that this was going to be the version that was going to be part of that Dark Universe.
Okay.
I thought it was
something they came up with after they canceled it.
Oh, was it?
I could be totally wrong.
It might have been. I mean, you might be right.
This movie was a hit.
Yes.
But then the pandemic hit, but luckily it got to where it did. I think it got to like maybe 60-something million. But if the pandemic didn't hit, that would have been easily $100 million picture and would have been totally well-deserved. That was I remember, and I went to your theater to watch it, all 5 of us opening night in that theater, which I couldn't believe. I was very, it really surprised me, like how I was really into it. Yep. And I was just like, wow. And I was saying over to my 2 friends, I'm like, this is actually really good. And I was actually creeped out, and I'm still creeped out when I watched that movie. And I just thought it was very effective and scary to a degree.
It is a very good psychological thriller. And when you watch it multiple times, knowing what the boyfriend was doing throughout the course of the movie, like when you watch it again, you're just like, is he he's got to be in the room right now. Like, he's listening to all this conversation that's going on right now while they're talking about it. Like, he has to be in here. And like, Jason and I watched it together at the theater. That is one movie I'm very happy that I did get to see in a theatrical setting with you, because it was very creepy. I agree. But I'm going to say this. The moment that they put it out available to buy, I bought it for home viewing because I loved it so much I wanted to show it to my wife. And she, not being a very, like, she's not a super movie buff. Like, she watches movies that I force her to watch or whatnot. But we watched it, and she was like, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. Like, she really enjoyed the psychological aspect
It was
of it.
well done.
And we just watched it at home. I made her turn off all the lights, which she doesn't like doing when we watch movies, but I turned off all the lights, watched it, and it just, even the second time watching it at home, it still just had that psychological tension that you feel, like, knowing, like, he is fucking with her through this whole movie.
Evan,
such a good
Howie hated this movie.
Oh, yeah, he did. I mean, Howie and I disagree a lot on most movies. But, this was one movie where I genuinely felt scared for the main character. You watch a lot of horror movies, you're like, oh, I don't care. You're going upstairs, you should probably go out the front door, whatever the case may be. But this was genuinely creepy, genuinely very stalkerish. And
terrifying, man.
Without giving away spoilers, the dinner sequence shocked me to no avail. I never saw that coming, and that was one of the most shocking things I think I've ever seen on film, was the dinner sequence.
Jaybird,
not
Howie Sandler,
the
who opened Greenwood, is Evan's boss.
Oh, okay.
Out in Massachusetts.
I didn't realize you were still friends with him.
Yeah, we're good.
Cool.
But yeah, he's Evan's boss at the theater, one of the theaters he runs.
So he likes to think he's my
Who's
boss.
Evan?
The guy we're on the screen with.
Wait a minute. Okay, all right. So Howie is what again, Evan?
Evan's boss.
He's my boss, technically.
Evan is me, and Howie is Tim.
So so Evan, where do you work at?
Kendall Square in Cambridge, Mass.
Are you a manager?
Yeah.
Awesome.
He's second in charge, man. And he runs the building for Howie all the time.
Is that how many screens?
9.
9. Okay. Is that a regular movie or Independence?
It's Landmark, so
it's independent. Yeah, independent.
It's art and independent.
Okay. All right. Cool. No, I had to think about it for a second because I was thinking like, well, how could Evan here? How would he have any? I'm thinking you're in Indianapolis this whole time, so I'm not. Don't realize you're in Boston.
All right. So now that we've explained that to Jaybird, Evan, tell me some more about Invisible Man and why it made your list.
I've been a huge fan of Lee Wanell for a while. I recently was able to watch. He wrote Upgrade.
Yep.
Which I don't know if anyone caught Upgrade. Upgrade's phenomenal too. I didn't
Logan
know how good that
Green
was.
that's in that was on a TV series that I really liked called Dark Blue. Dude,
I love Dark Blue.
Dark Blue
Absolutely,
was so good.
that show was awesome. That was really good. I
Very
don't think that
show.
was ready for its time slot, but yeah,
I agree. Well, and it was on TNT, so it was kind of like they weren't really putting a whole lot of money into it, so it was very low budget, but still very enjoyable. I feel like it probably could have lasted longer on a different network. But Logan Marshall Green, I really enjoy him as an actor. So when I saw the trailer for Upgrade, I knew I needed to watch it, and it was really fun.
Yeah, Invisible Man, it's. I could have even watched a longer cut, I think, of that movie without being genuinely bored. I mean, it's from the start of that movie, I was engaged right off the bat.
Those first 15 minutes where it's almost all silent.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's the lighting is great. From the title card there with the waves creating like the titles and the producers and all that stuff, I thought was really cool. The music, the really creepy, subtle music that you were getting. It's one of the movies where I was like, you know what? I was generally entertained the entire time from start to finish.
Isn't that another short endings?
What?
I don't remember
I'll look it up real quick.
Oh, Howard Shore, the composer?
No, I was saying I think it's another short. Oh, it's 2 hours.
No, it's 2 hours. I mean, it didn't feel like 2 hours.
No, it doesn't.
You knew that the ending was going to be, it's a horror movie. It's going to be graphic. Like, I wasn't prepared for the ending either. Like, I didn't see if she was going to do something. I just wasn't sure what she was going to do. That was set up perfectly. I really, it's one of my favorite.
Dude, it's kind of like Sleeping with the Enemy with like this this superhero aspect to it. And I mean, I know that shows my age for sure. So, But yeah,
that movie still creeps me out.
Dude, that
movie's crazy. Yes. Well, and with The Invisible Man, I also really love Aldous Hodge, who was in Leverage on TNT. Coming back full circle to the TNT aspect, like Leverage was another one of those shows that I really loved because it was like Ocean's 11 every week in an episode. But so I really loved seeing him in this movie, and even his character's development through the film as he like they build up his his relationship with the main character, but then like watching that deteriorate because of all the stuff that the boyfriend is doing. It's like it's just a psychologically crazy movie to watch. Jaybird, why did it make your list? Like what specifically about it did you love?
The Invisible Man?
Yeah.
I actually think Elizabeth Moss is a great actress.
Okay.
I think she's convincing. She's good. She was perfect for that role. But the eeriness and there are times where you may be in your house alone and you kind of feel like something's there. Everyone can relate to that.
Yeah.
And so you just didn't know when he was going to pop up and whatnot. It was just that creep factor of not knowing what's there and who's watching you like that. And I just thought that they kind of Jason's right. It kind of is like that Sleeping with the Enemy, but they kind of modernized it with a superhero or science fiction kind of touch to it,
Sure.
But it was just very eerie and a little dark, but so effective. And I like, again, the fact that they didn't have a lot of famous people in it.
Sure. It was a very good
I think I like it was a suit, like as opposed to like an invisible serum that in a lot of movies you kind of go with.
Yeah.
The whole suit concept is actually much more feasible.
Agreed.
Could we do that? Probably not, but I mean it's certainly a much more feasible concept.
Of course. Jason Mayer?
I was just going to say I wouldn't put it past technology nowadays for them to be able to do something very similar, especially
I am curious how Glenn breathes in that suit since it has to have cameras on the outside of it, but I've seen worse sci-fi stuff.
I mean, they could have did the Harry Potter blanket,
All right, so we're gonna reach Unhinged now, which I jumped ahead to earlier. Evan, is Unhinged really worth my time?
I mean, do you? Yeah, I mean, I would say yes. Solely based on Russell Crowe, like he was fully invested in what he was doing. I was not mentally prepared for the level that he took, the role in general, because I'd read a little bit about it before. I'm like, all right, well, it's going to go places, but I wasn't prepared. He was 100% committed to this balls to the walls, just passion for doing what he was out to do. It's unrelenting. Like that, it's a little bit slow at the beginning, and then it picks up like there's no stopping
it quickly.
Okay, so Richardson, you've seen it?
Oh yeah, I did see this in the theaters during the pandemic.
The Russell Crowe movie. How did you think he didn't see this movie?
It was Evan's right. It does start off a little slow, and then bam, you're in it. But he is so convincing, and it's just this. And like Invisible Man, he was creepy. Russell Crowe was very effective, and I would not want to be stalked by this guy. But there were a few moments where you jumped or you didn't know what he was going to do, and he just had this kind of this stare in the energy that he was giving off. It was just he was very good. I thought it was good. It's very brief to the point. I think it's like an hour and 35 minutes or something, if that. I mean, it's very short.
Yeah, it's not a very long film.
No,
it doesn't
but I mean,
feel long once it picks up.
But for the fact, where pretty much movie theaters are kind of closed, but then they open back up. When this opened, theaters were kind of opened back up from being closed for a while. So this was like A+, big popcorn movie. That's how it came off because we hadn't really been in the theaters in a while. So, and Unhinged was my going back to the theater after theaters closed down.
Okay.
So to me, it was just like grand and big for me, you know, because we hadn't been in theater in weeks.
For sure. Evan, aside from Russell Crowe's performance, the story is that good?
I mean, I would say the story is not necessarily, it's nothing new. It's not really treading on any, on new ground. Right. It's not breaking new ground. But, I think it's all boiling down to this Russell Crowe performance that is just so over the top. He's 100% committed. The level of brutality is it's incredible, just where it goes.
But it does, everyone can relate to it in the sense of not someone stalking you down like that, but when road rage kicks in and you think like, oh my God, I hope this guy's not crazy or this girl's not crazy or something like that. And, in this case, you do have someone that's crazy that starts going off on someone. The weakest part of the movie to me, the movie is so B-movie. It spews B-movie when you're watching it, but he is so good that he kind of, he's the plus of the movie. I wasn't a big fan of the girl who played in she was kind of like, I wish they'd kind of gotten somebody else because I didn't really feel sorry for her.
Gotcha. Mayor, you haven't seen it, right?
I haven't.
Evan, what do you think of the girl? Am I dogging somebody I shouldn't?
No, I mean, she was pretty just like, it was just a female lead that I honestly forgot. Same with the kid, I think was a little bit stronger than she was, but yeah. Even then, like I know he was in the last, the remake of the Chucky movie or whatever. That's where I remembered him from. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's a Russell Crowe, machine, and that's really only.
Was that Chucky remake in 2020 or was that in 2019?
That was 2019.
That was 2019. Okay.
Yeah, it was 2019.
That was bad.
So I'm gonna jump over to myself now. On my top 5 list, I only had one theatrical film. Granted, we didn't have a whole lot of theatrical films last year, but The Way Back with Ben Affleck is one of those movies that to this day still resonates with me. It's one that I've watched multiple times during our lockdown situation.
You've mentioned it multiple times on the show too.
I have. Yes. I've talked about it on a couple of different episodes. Just how much I love the movie. I relate to the movie. Like I understand that. Like I drink a lot. Cheers to that. Have any of you guys seen it? And what are your thoughts and feelings on The Way Back?
I own it, but I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. And again, much like I've said about Ted Lasso, the basketball in The Way Back is not the important part. Like I had somebody else that was telling me like, oh, I really want to watch it because it's a basketball movie, and I'm like, it's not like Coach Carter. It's not like a basketball themed movie. Like the basketball is a very small part. Much like chess in the Queen's Gambit, like this is more about Ben Affleck's character.
Yeah, it's a character development story, but has basketball in it.
Yeah,
it's on my list to watch.
He tries to find redemption through coaching these kids at his alma mater, but it's one of the movies that doesn't give you all the information up front. Throughout the course of the movie, you learn why he's so depressed, why he's an alcoholic, why he's basically following in the footsteps of his father. Like it's a pretty emotional gut punch type of movie with just some feel good basketball moments in it because he is fairly successful in coaching them to an extent. Evan, have you seen it?
I have not seen it yet. No.
Okay. I think it's on HBO Max now, to be honest. Like,
it is.
I know you said you bought it, but anybody that hasn't seen it, I think it's on HBO Max. It might be a little long. I think it's roughly 2 hours, 150 to 2 hours. It feels like it, but at the same time, like I was so invested in it that didn't bother me. But hopefully, it wouldn't be a turnoff for anybody else. Jason Mayer, let's talk about your theatrical movies. We already talked about Greenland.
Yeah, we already talked about Greenland.
Tell me about The Gentleman, which I did not see. I wanted to, and I've just never made time to see it. What's so good about The Gentleman?
So I'm not a huge Guy Ritchie fan. I think he is very hot and cold, very hit and miss for me.
Oh my God, that was 2020.
It was January 4th. It was like the first movie release.
Oh, okay, yeah. That I was gonna say because I did see that in theaters, but I didn't remember COVID. So I'm like, when was that?
Yeah, it was the very beginning of the year, and
so there's only two Guy Ritchie movies. I just want to ask you real quick: Lock, Stock, do you like it? And Snatch, do you like it?
I like Snatch more than Lock, Stock. Okay. Lock, Stock's fine.
Most guys do.
But Snatch. But yeah, I definitely thought Snatch was the better of those two.
Okay, because truth be told, those are the only Guy Ritchie movies that I actually care about are those two. So I was just curious where you stood on them.
You don't like Sherlock Holmes?
No,
I like the first Sherlock Holmes a lot. The second one I felt was very Bad Boys 2-esque. Where it was like, I got that was my wife liked both of those, so I bought them for her on Blu-ray, so we own them. But yeah, I like the first one a lot. The second one's just kind of a throwaway for me. I like the ending of the second one a lot. I thought it was, I thought that was a really cool ending. But for the most part, he's very hit or miss with his stuff. Most of his movies are just okay, but The Gentleman just like, dude. He doesn't talking about brutal with Unhinged. There's some brutal stuff that happens in this movie.
Really?
Oh yeah, there is.
But what's really good about it is Matthew McConaughey. There's and you know he is who he is. It's very rare that you see a great performance out of Matthew McConaughey. I think he has the ability to get there, but he doesn't do it very often. I don't even think this is a great performance, but it was because it was written, I don't know if it was written for him or not, but it feels like it, and it works so perfectly. And his wife, the lady who plays his wife in the movie, is fantastic. And then Henry Golding's in it. I think that's who it is, right?
The future
Let me pull that up real quick. Henry Golding. Yeah, he's in it, and Colin Farrell's character is awesome in it. Because there's some stuff that goes on with some hooligans essentially. Does the
film take? I thought the film takes place in Texas. Isn't it an American?
No, it's in London.
It is in London.
London.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in London, and he's a Texas plant. He's moved there. And but yeah, man, this it's a Goomba movie. I mean, it's literally a Goodfellas kind of movie.
Okay.
But just done with a new twist on it to be more modern, and the cast is just really top notch, and yeah, Matthew McConaughey is just awesome.
What was the previous movie that Guy Ritchie just did that was a big, huge success?
Aladdin.
Okay, thank you. I knew he had just did some big blockbuster. Okay, all right.
Which I have no interest in whatsoever.
It's not a good movie, but you know
Everyone
how I feel about
remakes.
It. I liked King Arthur a lot. I liked King Arthur: Legend of the Sword. I thought that did some cool aspects in changing how things played out because it's not like a traditional telling of King Arthur. Right. I don't think it's fantastic. If somebody goes, "What's a Guy Ritchie movie I should watch?" It wouldn't probably even be in my top 3 for Guy Ritchie movies. But it's not something where if somebody was like, "I hated that movie," I'd be like, "Oh, I liked it. It just wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it wasn't horrible." At least they went with a different spin on it. He also did The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which I hated. That was
I liked that
movie.
A lot.
No,
you liked it?
Yes, I did.
Oh, I was so bored throughout. It
was fun.
Movie.
It was a lot of fun.
But I've never seen Rock and Rolla. Apparently, that's pretty good, and Revolver is pretty good.
I forgot you did Rock and Rolla. Okay, that was all right.
So,
yeah,
but yeah, I definitely recommend The Gentleman because it's a very good movie. So
right. I'll give that a shot. Let's move into the streaming films now. And the movie that both Jason Mayer and I had on our top 5 of the year is literally one of the most fun films from last year. I'm partially biased because I am a huge Andy Samberg diehard fan. I love The Lonely Island. I love pretty much everything Andy Samberg's ever done. And Palm Springs with Kristen Milotti is so ridiculously fun. it made me happy, and it's one that I can just throw on and watch. I've probably watched it 5 or 8 times during COVID. Like it's just good and ridiculous, and I laugh a lot. So I know
it's free on Hulu.
And it's free on Hulu. I know Jason's seen it. Richardson or Evan, have either of you guys watched Palm Springs? It is 90 minutes of your life that is Groundhog Day, but done 10,000 times better.
Okay, people love Groundhog Day.
People love Groundhog Day. I hate Groundhog Day. So in 2 episodes, when we do our time loop episode, and Groundhog Day currently has the most votes to be the most popular time loop movie ever, I
need to watch Source Code before we record that episode.
Yeah, have you not seen it, or has it just been a long time? Oh, Source Code's really good.
I like Duncan Jones a lot.
But like, as far as time loop movies go, Palm Springs is my number 1/2, because there's a TV movie from 1993 called 1201 with Jonathan Silverman and Helen Slater and Martin Landau that for my entire life has always been my favorite time loop movie. It came out the same year as Groundhog Day, but I think it's so far superior because you actually throughout the course of the movie find out why the day is looping. It's a sci-fi movie, but Palm Springs is you find out why the day is looping, and you just have to deal with it, and then it's just hilarious because he lives the day over and over again doing the most retarded, ridiculous shit ever, and then gets to wake up the next day with no repercussions. Jaybird, what is that face for?
Dog farted.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm glad to know it was the dog farting and not me farting out of my mouth. But yeah, so it's free on Hulu. Evan or Jaybird, if you have it, have Hulu.
Yeah, I've got Hulu. I'll watch it.
Highly it's 90 minutes of your life, but it's just laugh out loud. It's Groundhog Day times 10,000. Just like you said, fun.
Jason, and J.K. Simmons is in it, and he's awesome.
He is amazing at everything, and it's got one of those just like great endings where like you're rooting for the characters in the end, and you're happy with how it resolves itself.
Okay.
Evan, on your list was a film that I thought was a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of the first movie that we're about to talk about. I like the first movie better than this sequel, although the sequel was also very enjoyable. But you had The Babysitter 2: Killer Queen on it. I'm a huge fan of the first Babysitter movie on Netflix. I love it. I watched it because I'm a fan of the main chick who's I'm drawing a blank on her name right now.
We're talking about Samara Weaving?
Yes, Samara Weaving. I'm a huge fan of hers. That's the only reason I ever watched this movie.
Oh man.
But then I have issues with the sequel, so I'm surprised that it made your and I don't know if it's just fan service that you liked the fact there was the sequel, but there are some things in the sequel that I was upset about going back to the original.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It certainly has some of its problems. I picked it for, solely based on the amount of movies I saw in 2020.
Okay.
Some of them are memorable, some of them aren't. And this was one that I was super excited to see it too when it came out. And that may have been a reason as to why it still remains a favorite. And
it's not bad in any way. I'm not trying to badmouth it.
No.
Is it a horror movie?
It's a horror movie. It's a horror
comedy.
Horror comedy, yeah.
What's it on?
And certainly the first one is certainly better.
Yeah, the first one's by far better. The first one, they're both on Netflix, but the first one involves this super hot chick who's a babysitter, and she's babysitting for this kid. And then throughout the course of the first movie, you find out that she's in this satanic cult, and they're going to sacrifice this kid that she's babysitting. And so then he has to get away from her and her friends who are going to sacrifice this kid. And it's very comedic, yet also graphically violent and bloody.
Okay.
It reminds me of Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Sure. Yep.
It's along those same lines as far as the comedy horror aspect to it. So it's not as I know a lot of people love Evil Dead 2. But I don't think it's to that level of seriousness, because I feel like the Evil Dead's a little bit more serious than the Babysitters were. Or the Babysitter, because I didn't see the second one yet. So
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of this movie comes down to, just the cast of characters. The five main baddies or four main baddies that you have. I'm a huge fan of Robbie Amell, and I think
sure.
he's let off his leash for both of these movies as far as comedic chops go. Everything he does is extremely funny to me. Same thing goes with Andrew Bachelor, who plays John in that movie as well. He is hysterically funny with his. Oh, it looks like you just saw. What was it? A sexy ghost or a sexy black ghost or something. I died when I saw that. They upped the blood like a lot.
They did. Yep.
And that was one thing that I was just like, okay, well, that's cool. I like blood.
Well, and they also did a very good job of tricking me with their story. Like the first 30 minutes of the movie, I feel like I know where the story is going, and then there's one scene and you're just like, wait a minute, what the fuck is going on? And it completely flipped the entire movie at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see that coming at all. Yeah. And I think it worked. And I think bringing in Jenny Ortega, who seems to be on the rise, I think she just got cast in the next Scream movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, cool.
She was really good as this kind of oddball character, just kind of loner. I'm in love with Samara Weaving, so right off the bat, that 100% tells me
for sure
anything she does. Judah Lewis is good, and his character was a little bit awkward to me, only because I feel like from the transition from the first to the second film, he seemed to have lost like a step. Like he survived the first film, like he's got all this confidence, and then you're in this 2 years later stumbling high schooler. I was a little bit thrown off by that, but he picked that up rather quickly, which I guess is for any reason that was the directing choice that they wanted to go with. But Bella Thorne, I think she's really funny in this. I can't stand her in pretty much anything else, but I'll take her in these films.
Shane just sounded like he fell in love.
Well, so I Bella Thorne is one of those girls that 20 years ago I would have probably been like obsessed with her. She played the thank you, Mayor. But in the Scream television series, she played the Casey Becker role. So in the pilot episode, Bella Thorne is essentially Casey Becker, who dies at the very beginning of the TV series. And it was one of those things where I was like, I'm not happy that you died. I really wanted to see more of you. So her in this and the sequel and the original, I liked seeing her in there. But a few of the other things I've ever tried to watch with her, I'm not a fan of her career choices.
Evan's like Bella Thorne. You're like, like, okay.
I saw that movie with her and Schwarzenegger's son, Patrick Schwarzenegger, where she's allergic to the sun. It's like one of those teen love drama ones or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
Right, she can't leave the house during the day, right? That was that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
terrible. Because if the sun touches her skin, then it causes a reaction, and then it was a bad movie. It's got a really good song in the trailer or in the movie. There was a really good song in it though. So,
anything else you want to say, Evan?
Ken Marino. I was very glad that they kind of expanded his role.
Yeah, the dad. Yeah.
So he married to Leslie Bibb, who's also really funny in this for the parts that she's in. But Ken Marino is just hysterically funny, and I'm a huge fan of Party Down. Reaper when he was on that show.
Oh yeah,
two other things that he's done.
Dude, Party Down has one of the greatest casts ever of a television series. Like everybody that is on Party Down has gone on to have amazing careers, and it was so funny. What was that, 12 years ago now?
Yeah, I think it ran 2 or 3 seasons. I want to say 2.
And it was so good.
Yeah, it's very funny, very funny. But yeah, I mean, I think if you haven't seen it, you should absolutely see it. If you haven't seen the first one, you absolutely need to. There's no question about it.
Yep.
I watched the first one. I've kind of added it into a few movies that I watch every Halloween at this point. Nice. Trick or Treat is one of them. And I kind of added this to that list just because I think it's fun.
All right, let us move on to a movie that was on Mr. Mayor's list for 2020, and one that I was not familiar with until I watched it on Disney Plus, and that's Hamilton. What caused Hamilton to make your list, man?
So this is a musical that I couldn't get into when I was listening to it, just the recordings of it. I tried multiple times, couldn't make it happen. Not something I made it past 3 or 4 songs. I kept turning it off and then being completely disinterested. A friend of me and my wife suggested that we wait until we actually see the show. And so when we went and saw it, Jaybird and I went and saw it while it was here in Indianapolis. And we enjoyed the experience a lot more, and you can understand it and feel it better when you're there. What I really enjoyed, and the reason why it's on my list, is because it's a really good musical. But then on top of that, here you have the original cast. This was shot over the course of 3 different performances, 2 of them with audience, 1 without. Mm-hmm. They had to bring back certain people, like Jonathan Groff had to come back to play the king again. And so, because he was already out of the cast by the time that they were filming this. But yeah, it's nice to see a live performance of it and being able to like reference it and go back to it as many times as you want to. The only problem I have with it is that it's a live performance recording. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is I can enjoy it for what it is, but you can't get the sweeping camera movements, and you're on the same set as them, and it works and it's fine. I just think that an actual movie version would be awesome. They've been talking about doing like, for instance, they've been talking about doing a movie version of Wicked for over a decade now. Yeah. And that's something that I would love to see, because I think you could just way you could do things, especially with her being a witch, would be magnificent on screen. But it is what it is. I'm glad that Hamilton could reach more of the masses by being on Disney Plus and by showing this, because the tickets are really expensive, especially if you're going to New York and you're looking at 6 months, 8 months out when you can buy tickets when they are open. So it'll, but it's a really well done show.
And you got to weigh $1.05 to fit in the seats.
Yeah, and Lin-Manuel Miranda is just like he's the hot thing right now. But on top of that, he knows what he's doing and he's really good at it. And I'm looking forward to seeing Tick Tick Boom whenever he does that on Netflix or whenever it gets released anyway.
I can't lie. When I just watched that Netflix trailer yesterday, I honestly did not know. I knew Lin-Manuel Miranda had the rights to Tick Tick Boom, but I thought he was doing it as a stage production. I didn't realize he was turning it into a film. So when I saw that Netflix thing yesterday, I blew my mind. Like I love Jonathan Larson, so I'm super excited to see what he does with Tick Tick Boom as a film.
And he's directing it too, so hopefully it's well done. I don't know the musical very well at all, but always
all I know from it is the little bits from the Rent documentary that documented Jonathan Larson's life, and it shows different scenes and stuff from the 1992 production of it or whatever. But it's one that I've always been interested in, and I'm excited to see. And I mean, if anybody is going to do Jonathan Larson justice, it has to be Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like he's super hot in the Hollywood scene, or in the
on everything
Broadway scene.
Broadway and
my God!
Oh, your God!
Shane said 1992.
I mean, we also talked about 1984 earlier.
Well, that's what I'm just thinking. 1992 sounds like a long time ago, and I'm thinking like, oh God, Karate Kid was 8 years before that. Jesus, we're old.
Evan, did you watch Hamilton, and did you have any feelings about it?
I have not seen Hamilton, although I am a big musical guy.
Gotcha.
High School Musical's on. I'm watching it.
Well,
no, I have not seen it. My parents absolutely loved it. I gave them my Disney Plus account, and they were ecstatic.
Right on. Well, let's move into the streaming television genre now. Jason Richardson had a lot of streaming things on his list. I had seen Jaybird post about The Undoing on Facebook, and I had seen the trailer for it, and it looked like something that I was interested in. So my wife and I sat down a month or two ago, and we watched the first episode. And The first episode of The Undoing is so slow, dull, and boring that my wife and I were both like, man, we don't really care about this show. And then I got Jason Richardson's list of the best things he saw in 2020. And The Undoing was on that list, and I was like, how? That pilot was terrible. Jaybird and I talked a little bit, and he told me that he loved the show. So over the weekend, my wife and I forced ourselves to watch the last 5 episodes. And this is what I'll say about The Undoing before Jason gets to talk about why he loves it. The Undoing is a terrible pilot, 4 phenomenal episodes. Episode 2 makes up for the boring pilot, because in episode 2, it explains why everything was so boring in the pilot. You learn all these details about what you were watching in the pilot.
It was layers.
It was layers, yes. And I was like, oh my god, episode 2 is good, episode 3 is good, episode 4 is good, episode 5 is good. Did Hugh Grant really kill this woman? Like, there's so many layers to what's actually going on that the first episode doesn't show you anything about. It just introduces all these characters, and then one of them dies. And then Hugh Grant becomes the prime suspect, but did he really do it? Like, things aren't adding up. Like, I think Hugh Grant didn't do this. 4 phenomenal episodes in the middle. And then that is, the 6th episode is one of the worst things. Like, that final episode is just so bad. I did not like the resolution to what was actually going on. Jason, why did you like this show so much?
Well, you gave a lot away already, but you laid it out well. I think that the acting is extremely good. Nicole Kidman is just awesome, and she has just kind of nailed it lately with TV series or TV, whatever, streaming shows and whatnot. Big Little Lies, etc.
You like Big Little Lies, yeah.
Love Big Little Lies. So she's just very convincing, and she's good. She puts her all into it. What I liked about The Undoing is that there's some dry parts, and then there's you think it's this person, then you don't think, and there's a lot of guessing of, well, who did it?
Yep.
Then there's some things that's like, okay, this seems predictable. And then it does fall a little flat at the end, but yes. You know what? I'm okay with that. It didn't have to be a perfect ending, but I think collectively overall, it had me all over the place, guessing and questioning and little twists and lots of layers in it that yes. It made up for that. And a lot of shows
2, 3, 4, and 5 are so good at that. Like, we were hooked.
A lot of shows don't do that. And so to me, it made up for it. It wasn't the most perfect show, but it was entertaining, well done overall, and I recommend it.
I just have a problem with, like, you can't give me like 4 really good episodes in the middle and then give me a resolution that I think is garbage compared to all.
Well, I mean, I think, and not to try to give anything away or anything, no. I think it just kind of like the ending was not an over the top ending like we would want an ending to be. Correct. In a story like that. Yep. It just is what it is. It just was what it was.
Yep.
I just kind of accepted that. It falls a little flat, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm okay, because they took me on a roller coaster ride, and it just ended how it ended. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I personally was disappointed in how they decided to end it.
Right.
Evan, Jason, Mayer, either of you guys watched any of the show? No?
Negative.
Gotcha. If you like whodunits and like murder mystery thrillers, like the middle meat of the series is 6 episodes long. Episodes 2 through 5 are amazing, and episode 2 is really good because as boring as episode 1 is,
it's set up.
Episode 2 tells you what you were actually watching. And like episode 1's like, oh, like all this weird shit's happening, like all this, like what's going on, like. Well, who is this girl? Why is she in their lives? Like, what does this matter? Once you get to episode 2 and you find out, like, the truth about what was going on, I was hooked after that. Both my wife and I, like we started it at like 9 o'clock at night when we'd watch an episode, and when it got to the end, I'd be like, "Do you want to go to bed or do you want to watch another episode?" And my wife was like, "Let's watch another episode." And I'm like, "Cool." It was 2 o'clock in the morning when we ended episode 5, and I was like, "Do you want to finish this tomorrow?" And she's like, "No, I need to know what's going on." And so maybe I'm a little bitter because we watched the pilot at 3 o'clock, or the finale at 3 o'clock in the morning. But like I didn't enjoy the end. But the middle of it like is so much a good who done it. Why did this happen? And then like it turns into a courtroom drama for the last 2 episodes. And that was some phenomenal acting. I'll give you that in those last 2 episodes.
Yes, but you can't say anything else about
No.
it. You can't.
Yeah.
You so badly want to give it away.
I do,
You can't.
but I do.
You gotta stop. You gotta stop right now.
So now we're gonna jump to the Queen's Gambit, which we've mentioned a couple of times already. I haven't watched it yet. I've heard great things, and I want it. No, I know. I really want to watch it, and I like Anna Taylor-Joy a lot. But Jaybird, why was this in your top 5 for the year?
Well, I feel like I just talked. Did Jason or Evan watch it yet?
No,
I have not.
No. We're in the streaming area right now where you had a lot of streaming stuff.
Yeah, because y'all asses went to the movies a lot during the pandemic, and I stayed away from all that.
Kids.
4 kids, yet you were still able to marathon Cobra Kai.
You know what though? I could watch that while they were awake with earbuds in. So
Okay, all right.
I'm too busy watching Bad Boys 2.
Queen's Gambit.
What?
Queen's Gambit.
Sell me on Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit. I would have never watched that had it not been for all the buzz. Everybody was posting, watching Queen's Gambit, and it's a period piece, not a period piece like Emma or something like that, but it's takes place like in the 50s type. It starts in that era. And I was just like, I just don't know. Everybody's posting about it. And then my parents started to, there was a point where I admit, once the pandemic kicked in, I became a news junkie. I was just all about keeping up with the news and whatnot. I didn't go to the movies. I didn't stream a lot. I didn't watch a lot of, DVDs or anything. I just was all glued to the news. That was my entertainment. So Queen's Gambit was kind of like...
That's a good way to describe the news, by the way. Entertainment.
Entertainment. So my parents got ahead of me and just started watching all these shows and like, you got to watch this Queen's Gambit. And I'm just like, it's like, what's it about? She's like, oh, it's this chess player. Blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay. And so it wasn't until Thanksgiving night. And my parents like, you said, have you watched that? I'm like, no. And they're like, you need to watch. I'm like, okay, I will do that when I get home. So I got home Thanksgiving night and popped that sucker in. And first 10 minutes, you're like, and then I got sucked in. And basically, it's just about a young orphan girl whose mom died in a car accident. The girl survives in the car accident. She ends up in an orphanage. And she makes a connection with one of the janitor guys. And he teaches her how to play chess. And she's just trying to kind of drawn to it. And so she becomes basically a chess wizard and travels all around the country and playing in tournaments. And at the same time, she was a alcoholic, drug addict. And she became a drug addict at the not nursing home, the orphanage, because they would give them like these pills initially when they started there. So she became addicted to pills. And so she finally gets adopted, but it's just her struggle of dealing with her
hardcore drugs, right? Like, doesn't she? Totally. She gets into hardcore drugs,
and drinks a lot, but damn, she's a good chess player. And the drugs kind of help her, kind of foresee chess move plays and stuff. So like the drugs were actually helping her to advance per se.
Okay. Is this based on a true story or is this
I have no idea.
Okay.
I just thought it was fiction. It could be, but I think it's just well done. It's well acted. Anya Joy She was in Split.
Yep.
She also in Emma, in the X-Men movie. But no, she was great. She was fantastic, and I highly recommend watching. And again, you could hate chess, but it's not really it's about chess, but it's not about chess. There's a lot of scenes with chess, but you're actually into it, like, because you're watching her conquer, and it's just a fantastic story. I think it's like 7 episodes.
Nice. Evan or Mayor, have either of you watched the show? No? No? Okay, cool. Then great sell on that. I really want to watch it. Hopefully I can, and we can talk about it more in the future. Jaybird, you also had Little Fires Everywhere, which I've watched the first 3 episodes of it. I like it, but I don't love it. Should I keep going? Like, the first 3 episodes were just
yes.
okay.
Yeah, I would say so. Little Fires Everywhere, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I liked it because I just thought it was I thought it was an interest. I thought it was an entry. Well, there wasn't that much this year. You know what I mean? So I had to scrape for some shit. But I think that I've always liked Reese Witherspoon, but I think, again, like Nicole Kidman, she's really tapped into the TV series.
Sure.
And she's just perfects her craft each time. I think Morning Show is great, and Big Little Lies is great, and this one would probably be 3rd on my list of those 3 shows.
I got you.
But the story is it's kind of based loosely on a true story from a suburban town in Ohio outside of Cleveland that did this test kind of thing of where they integrated black and white people, and it's a test on race and the differences of what people see and the interaction of people, and there's all this kind of drama in between.
Well,
and
see, like, what I'll be honest about, in the first 3 episodes, what sort of turned me off to the show is, like, Reese Witherspoon's family is trying to help Kerry Washington's family, but she feels like she feels angry that they're trying to help. Like, obviously Kerry Washington and her daughter need help.
To finish out the series to see what Kerry Washington is dealing with. Layers.
Okay.
There are layers there, Shane.
It just bothered me that, like, obviously Reese Witherspoon is trying to be friendly, trying to be helpful, and Kerry Washington just keeps pushing her away and treating her badly because she's trying to help her family. And I was just like, that really just bothered me.
But you'll get more backstory of why Kerry Washington is the way that she is. Okay. But then there's also some it's one of those things where kind of like how and you guys may know someone, you know someone, and they're kind of who they are, right? And then one day something just clicks with you, and it's like, this is racist as hell. Like, why have I not picked up on that with you? All, you know what I mean? There's a lot of that in this show.
Okay.
And I think Kerry Washington picks up on that earlier, but
I got you.
It's good. I hate all the fucking characters, but
I ain't watching this.
I'm just baffled how you're sitting here telling me that, like, it's in your top 5 of 2020 and you hate all the characters.
No, I hate I liked the story, but I hated the characters, but the characters, I hated them, but it works for the story.
Okay.
They're and we all have flaws and stuff, but it's just if you like dramas and you like Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington, I say watch it, because, again, not this family per se, but it was based on this experiment, this little town in Ohio, or I should say a suburb outside of Ohio, Cleveland, that did this thing where they did a lot of integration, and then you can see the kind of the turmoil and the reaction of people and such. And it's just an interesting story that I didn't know kind of was based on a true story, kind of. So I recommend watching it. And I hate the characters, but the characters are who the characters are, but I hated them though.
Okay. Mayor, I know you said you had no interest in it, but Evan, have you seen any of it or have any interest in it? No?
I'll give anything a shot. So I'll probably
Gotcha.
give it a shot. Same with Queen's Gambit, I think.
I wouldn't have thought anybody on here would really watch that. I love Reese Witherspoon, so I'll watch anything that she does. And again, I was a big fan of the morning show and
Big Little Lies.
Big Little Lies.
Yeah.
But again, it's a story that I hadn't seen, and it's loosely based on a true story of these events that happened in this small suburb, and it was kind of a refreshing story.
Yeah, and like I said, my wife and I sat down. We watched 3 episodes in one night because we'd heard a lot of good things about it, and I like Reese Witherspoon a lot. But like, it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I don't have an exact reason why, but just Reese Witherspoon was trying to help her, and I just felt like Kerry Washington's character was constantly pushing away her kindness. And if there's more to Kerry Washington's character that I don't know, like it sounds like I should probably finish it. It's only 8 episodes, I believe. But yeah. So moving on to my final thing on my top 5 list. The last thing on all of our top 5 lists is, did anybody watch The Last Dance this summer? No? Well, it's because you're a Boston guy, so I get it. For me,
I hear it's great.
I growing up was a diehard Jordan fan. Despite living in Indianapolis, I mean, I loved Reggie Miller. I love the Pacers. I currently am a diehard Pacers fan. But growing up, like most children, WGN had every single Bulls game ever, so I could watch all 82 Bulls games every year. That's the only reason why I ever rooted for the Cubs, was because since Indianapolis didn't have a professional team, WGN had every Cubs game every day, so I could watch them, see Ryan Sandberg, number 23, and then at night I could watch Michael Jordan, number 23. Like, WGN did what they tried to do. They pushed their sports teams to the entire country. The same way TNT pushed the Braves to everybody, WGN was able to push the Bulls and the Cubs to everybody. And obviously, like, I love Michael Jordan. I'm a diehard Michael Jordan fan. Watching The Last Dance and getting to see all of the behind-the-scenes footage that they had that I've never seen. Every episode kind of took another character that was a supporting character to Michael Jordan. Like, there's an entire episode dedicated to Scottie Pippen. There's an entire episode dedicated to Dennis Rodman. There's an entire episode, or like at least half an episode dedicated to Bill Cartwright. Like, you got to see a lot of this behind-the-scenes stuff of what was actually, like, I watched the games on WGN and I saw them play. Getting to go back 30 years now and watching this documentary, well, I guess 22 years going back and getting to watch this documentary about what was actually going on with the team during that time, it was eye-opening. And it's obviously told non-linear, so I obviously love that. It'll start in 1998 with Jordan talking about what was going on with the Bulls, but then it'll jump back to 1992 and I'd get a bunch of Dream Team footage where he was like, this is why I hated playing Dennis Rodman because of, this. Or, like, I just, as a Jordan fan, getting 10 hours of content and seeing, like, behind the curtain, like, I've got the Ultimate Jordan DVD set where I've got, like, all of his specials that he did in the 90s, like Michael Jordan's Playground and The Air Up There and, like, all these other Jordan documentaries that were coming out in the 90s. Like, those were all fine, and, like, the dunk contest stuff with Dominique Wilkins was cool. But, like, how in-depth with the footage the Last Dance went, and the interviews, like, I mean, they interview Phil Jackson, they interview, Dennis Rodman, they pretty much interview John Paxson, like, the entire team from that year, and they all just kind of reflect on what was going on, like, psychologically and mentally with the team, and, like, the Dennis Rodman episode, you get a lot of the, like, people's fallout. Like, this was my opinion of Dennis Rodman when he went to Las Vegas and just abandoned us for 3 days. Like, it was very cool to see other players opening up and being honest about like what was going on with the Bulls while we were seeing the national scene and the WGN scene and like what was going on like in all these games, like 20 years later to watch, well, this is how I really felt about what was going on. And like, yeah, we let Dennis Rodman go on a 3-day bender and miss 2 games because, well, we know Dennis Rodman can't focus and he needs to go do that or else Dennis Rodman can't play basketball. Like, it was just very eye-opening and just, I was so invested in every single episode of The Last Dance. I've watched it 2 more times. Like, I was watching it every Sunday as it aired, but since it was done, like, I'll just go a day and I'll just put it on and I'll watch, half the episodes in one day and finish it the next day just because I love seeing the behind the scenes of sports figures that, like, I had no idea that's what was going on 20 years ago. And I've lost a lot of people to their cell phones. There must be some big NBA trade going on or something, like the Pacers just lost Victor Oladipo.
What?
Oh, yeah, Victor Oladipo got traded a couple of hours ago. He's gone.
Oh, I saw that before we even got on this thing.
Yeah. So The Last Dance was the last thing on my list. I guess nobody else has watched it, but I absolutely loved that behind-the-scenes sports stuff from people that I grew up watching, and now as an adult I can see how they actually feel about what I watched as a fan.
It's on my list.
The honorable mention for this episode.
Not on my list at all.
Why? You're a basketball fan. I understand it's not Bird and fucking Magic, but
dude, I'll watch Bird and Magic. I'll watch documentary.
I watched the
6 hour. I watched the 6 hour documentary on the Lakers and Celtics rivalry.
Yes. And I watched that because I'm a basketball fan.
I hate Michael Jordan. I don't care about him. I think he was a crappy player. Like, he's the best player of all time, but I don't appreciate the way he played the game. I don't appreciate the way he's acted ever since he left the NBA as a player. I think he's a crap person. I'd much rather watch something on LeBron James than I'd rather watch something on Michael Jordan. And I hate LeBron.
Now you're just stabbing me in the heart to be mean.
No. It's the truth. Because at least LeBron is we haven't found any problems that LeBron's caused outside of the
you don't like Scottie Pippen?
Basketball. Scottie Pippen's fine.
You don't like Dennis Rodman?
Steve Kerr was cool too. Kerr? No. I've got no problem with Steve Kerr.
Jackson?
Dennis Rodman was fine. He was the freak. He's the worm back in the day. But no, like
this documentary is called The Last Dance. This documentary is not called Michael Jordan's documentary. This documentary is about every player.
It just sits there and sucks off Michael Jordan for the entire 10 hours.
A lot of them talk about why they didn't like playing with him.
Because he was a dick. Because he got the NBA to constantly change rules so that he wouldn't get in trouble for stuff. Like he's a horror. I didn't like the way he played the game, and I have no intention of wasting 10 hours of my life. At least Magic Johnson. I can watch Magic Johnson, Larry Bird stuff all day long because I can actually.
Is that kind of like your old New England Patriots quarterback?
What about Tom Brady? Like, I could watch stuff on Tom. Like, I won't now because if it's stuff about him being down in Tampa Bay, he's gone. He's not my quarterback. If it was stuff about him while he was a Patriots player, sure, I'll watch it. I've got no problems with that.
Well, that's what I don't understand. That's what I don't understand about people in their goddamn sports. It's almost like, say, Tom Hanks has got a picture deal with Paramount and does like 10 years of pictures with Paramount, and then he goes to Warner Brothers for another 10 years after that. Do you stop watching Tom Hanks movies because he's not Warner Brothers and not Paramount? I don't get that.
No. I've got no problem with Tom leaving. It sucks for my team, and congratulations to him. My allegiance is to the team, not to a player, no matter how great the player was.
No, I get
so like I've got no problems with Tom continuing his dominance, and as Evan said last night, he's probably going to win it all because that's who he is, which fucking sucks. Yep. But it is what it is, man. Like Tom, they treated Tom the way they did. He left on the terms that he left because he didn't want to be treated that way anymore, and this is where my team's at. Like, it sucks, but he gave us 6 rings.
I haven't worn my Peyton Manning jersey in like 10 years now. Like, I still have it. I still hang it in my man cave, but I was very upset when I watched him win another Super Bowl with Denver. Like, It sucks.
I'm never getting rid of I'm never getting rid of my Brady jerseys, but I'm never going to wear that or a Rob Gronkowski jersey until they're retired.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
I mean, again, like my Manning jersey just hangs on the wall. Like it will never be worn again.
All right. So you're going on to honorable mentions.
All right. Honorable mentions. This is a movie that I'm pretty sure all four of us have seen. It would have been in my top 10 of the year, but as everybody knows, I am a Christopher Nolan fanboy. This is a movie that I've bought digitally. I've watched it 3 times since. Evan hasn't seen it. Really? Do you not like Christopher Nolan?
I think I'd rather watch this Last Dance thing, and I hate basketball.
Look, man, here's the thing. Like, Christopher Nolan, just ever since Following, has shown to us that manipulating time in film is his shtick. He did it with Memento, he did it with Inception, and now he just took it to another level and made... It's not even a time travel movie. It's a reverse time movie, and it is so brilliantly done.
I loved, obviously, the Batman trilogy. I thought it was great. I'm a huge Inception guy. I love Inception. I can't be Tenet. It's bloated as hell, and it's, like, everyone who I talked to was like, I don't know what the hell I just thought.
I can't hear Evan.
The general consensus. Can you hear me now? No?
You sound muffled.
It's probably my microphone. Go on to someone else, Shay.
It's all right. Jay-Bird, did you like Tenet?
I did like Tenet a lot. Don't know what the fuck was going on, but I liked it. Tenet is one of those movies where I wasn't expecting to get it on the first run. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I like the fact that I kind of left in a fog.
Well, let me ask you,
which means that the next time I watch it, I'm going to pick up on a lot more things.
Exactly. Every time you watch Inception, does Inception get better every time you watch it? Yes.
I've only seen Inception one time.
You need to watch Inception like 3 times. Oh, now I'm getting feedback.
I'm going to burst your bubble here a little bit. Because we talked privately about Tenet.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed Tenet a lot. It's a smart movie, but you really got to be paying attention, and you've got to watch it multiple times. So I've only done it once, so I still need to purchase it, and so I look forward to purchasing it and watching it again. But it's a good film. It is, but you can't pick everything up on that first round. You just can't.
You can't. I agree. And I watched it literally twice within 48 hours to make sure that, like, I agree. I loved it the first time I watched it. I watched it by myself. Absolutely enjoyed the movie. I knew there was a lot of things that I was missing, but it was the same way I felt after Inception. At the end of Inception, I was like, I don't really think I know what's going on, but I really liked what I just experienced. When I watched Inception for a second time, I caught all of the little seeds that were planted earlier in the movie,
right?
And it made it so much better. Every time I watch Tenet, I've watched it 4 times now. Every time I watch it, dude, I love this movie. I absolutely love it.
Well, I mean, I'm not ready to watch it again yet. I need probably a few more months, and then I'll jump back into it because
that opening 15 minutes with the opera siege is
great.
One of the best things I've ever seen put on film.
It's great. I don't know where to put Christopher Nolan. It's like he's in this, like, you know, people say his name and people like, I mean, people, it's like they, I mean, maybe it's because of Batman or something like that. I think he's a good director, but he's not on my level of, like, worship like he is with a lot of other folks.
Well, I love Christopher Nolan. I love Memento. I think it's in my top
I know
10
you do,
films of
because
all
you
time.
tell us.
Yes, but as far as Batman Begins go, kind of a blah movie. As far as The Dark Knight Rises goes, that's a piece of shit. He only did one good Batman movie, and that's The Dark Knight, and that's because he struck gold with Heath Ledger. The Dark Knight is by far the best of those three movies. He struck
It is,
gold
but
with
Batman,
Heath
the
Ledger.
first Batman was good though.
Batman Begins was fine, but it wasn't a good movie. Like, it's pretty slow and boring and garbage.
Oh no, I totally disagree.
I don't. What's the highlight of that movie?
It's well done.
When you think about the Dark Knight, you're like, oh, the stuff on the ship with the Joker, or the pencil disappearing scene. Like, there's so many things in the Dark Knight where you're like, this is why Christopher Nolan's great with the Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight is its story. It's its own story. It's not the first one, and it's not the anchor at the third one. It's its own story. The Batman Begins, was that the name of the title?
Yes. And
yes.
It was
okay.
Blah.
No, Batman Begins was kind of like a kickoff to rebooting Batman. And I kind of felt like with what we got previously ending with Batman and Robin, this it was on an intellectual level, and it was very well done. It was very sharp looking. It was very professional per se.
And
it wasn't comic-y. So
no.
I thought he did a good job of kind of rebranding and imagining the Batman world and such.
I mean, it was better than Insomnia, which he did right before that.
Right.
I love Insomnia.
What's that?
I just said I love Insomnia.
Do you like Insomnia, or do you like the original Swedish version of Insomnia?
No, I'm talking Insomnia. I haven't seen the Swedish one.
No, the Swedish one is really good, and then I was vastly disappointed with the Robin Williams garbage that we got.
What's wrong, Jason?
This is anytime there's a foreign version, and Shane always just about the foreign version. Then he's like, the American version shit, like every single time.
I mean, that's what he did to me. That's what he did to me on. That's what he did to me on Fever Pitch. I'm like, what do you mean? There's a foreign version of Fever Pitch?
You deserve that. Because no
Colin
offense,
Firth is
I'm
amazing.
a Red Sox fan, and that movie is shit.
Fever Pitch?
Let's also talk about Jaybird. Have you watched the original version of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo? I know you like the Fincher version, but have you watched the original Swedish version? It's my parents keep telling me to watch, and I will. I just haven't jumped into it. Gotcha. Like, I am a huge Girl with the Dragon Tattoo fan as far as the original Swedish films go, and even
Open
even
your eyes, Vanilla Sky. Although
yes.
I will agree with you on that one 100%.
Yeah, like that's unfortunately the worst thing in the world, where my favorite film of all time was remade by my favorite director of all time, and it was the worst film I've probably ever seen.
What's your favorite film of all time?
Abre los ojos.
Oh, Jesus. What is that?
A 1997 Spanish film starring Penelope Cruz, which was remade by Cameron Crowe as Vanilla Sky. And and that happened because Alejandro Amenabar directed the original. Tom Cruise and Cameron Crowe loved the movie so much, they asked Alejandro Amenabar, we want to buy the rights to your movie. He said, okay, but you have to finance my next film. So Tom Cruise's Tom Cruise's production company that I can't think of bought the rights to Abre los Ojos, and they financed The Others, starring Tom Cruise's wife, Nicole Kidman, but was directed and written by Alejandro Amenabar, who did Abre los Ojos.
You just like saying his name, don't you?
Alejandro Amenabar.
Anyways.
I just get very frustrated with American remakes of things that are very good as the originals, and they fail in the remakes. Taxi, starring Jimmy Fallon and Queen Latifah, written and directed by Luc Besson. The original French version is 1,000 times better than what we got with Queen Latifah and Jimmy Fallon. Like, I just don't understand America's desire to take great stories and make them crap.
What was so bad? This is not even the theme of this.
You're right. So let's move on. We're done?
But no, you brought it up. What the hell was so bad about the Dragon American version of the Dragon Tattoo?
A lot.
Okay, so you got to think about this, Jaybird. you got to think about the fact that when you see the original or whatever version you see first, most of the time is the one that's going to stick in your brain and that you're going to like the most.
Correct.
So here's Shane, the cinema aficionado, if you will, and he watches all sorts of stuff constantly, and then he watches the crap remake, and then he's like, the crap remake sucks. And I mean, I can't blame him. I mean, I'm the same way. Like,
and so I didn't see the originals. I saw that one as my first, and I just thought it was awesome.
So the third act of the film, when Daniel Craig goes down into the basement of a certain character's house and discovers what's going on in the basement of that house,
yes,
was done a lot creepier and more fulfilling in the original Swedish version.
What were they doing in the Swedish version?
Similar stuff, but far worse. And Lisbeth Salander's character, they didn't do a bad job with her in the Fincher version, like, because they kept the nudity and the sexualization of her character, but like there were a lot of scenes and sequences between her and Daniel Craig's character that didn't happen in the original.
Okay.
There's a far bigger connection between the two of them than they did in the American version.
Okay.
And again, it's a trilogy. Now it's like 6 books long because even though he died before the trilogy ever got published, like there's been other books written by other authors that they consider canon because the publishers were trying to bank in on the Elizabeth Salander character. Whatever that second American the Girl in the Spiderweb was not written by Nels.
Although I did like that.
And it's truth be told, I haven't read that book. I've only read the 3 original books. After I watched the Swedish made-for-TV movies, which obviously you can show nudity and curse on Swedish television. After I watched those movies, I bought the book series and read all the books and really loved them. There were things that were changed that sucked. Like, Elizabeth Salander is a much more violent and evil person in the books than they portray her, even in the Swedish teleseries. Like, she kills people that like wrong women. Like, she's in one scene she's on vacation and she has a hotel room and she hears a guy next door beating his girlfriend or female compatriot, and then in the next scene she murders the guy. Like, she's a much more violent and like anti-men person in the books than she is in the movies and the TV series. But I have not read the 3 books that have been written afterwards. The Girl in the Spiderweb was one of those 3 books. And I felt like the movie was not bad. So, all right, we've talked a lot about that, and that has nothing to do with 2020. We got way off topic. Some suggestions from people that none of us mentioned in 2020 in the poll that I put on the Facebook group. Tiger King. Have we all watched Tiger King?
No?
Tiger King's fun and bizarre and ridiculous, especially for people like me who like true crime stuff. Like,
that's what I hear.
There's murders and police and investigations and internet bullying of each other and arrests, and it's
Is there an original Swedish version?
No.
Asking.
Well played, Evan. All right. I suggest Tiger King because I literally can't believe you guys haven't spent any time with this. Like, it hit in March, like right when COVID happened. Like, it was I only watched it because I saw everybody else on Facebook going batshit crazy about it.
I was watching the news.
Okay. Dude, Tiger King is so ridiculous. Like, this is a guy that you think just like, oh, he has a wildlife preserve and he's got weird animals and he happens to have tigers and he's started an internet television show and there's this documentary filmmaker that's there like filming all this stuff about what he does at his tiger preserve, and then it just gets ridiculous every episode ends on a cliffhanger of like, well, he might have murdered somebody. Oh, a tiger might have eaten somebody. Oh, his arch nemesis, Carol Baskin, she might have murdered her husband and fed him to a tiger. Oh, there's like police stuff that supports the fact that she murdered her husband. Like, it just goes batshit fucking crazy, and you just can't believe what you're watching. I really enjoyed Tiger King. The Boys, season 2. Anybody else on here watching The Boys? No? Evan, no?
Nope.
Evan, like, you're a comic book guy. Like, no Boys?
I've got like so many backlog TV series, and that's one of them.
Okay, like, yeah, The Boys, lots of fun. Season 2, not as good as season 1. I love every minute of season 1. It's so ridiculously over the top and crazy. And you're just like, I can't believe these characters are doing this. And Elizabeth Shue, pre-Cobra Kai, on the show and very attractive.
Yes. My main issue with The Boys, while I'm enjoying what they have done, is like you were talking about how crazy over the top they go and stuff like that. If I'm remembering correctly, yeah, that's Garth Ennis. I really don't care for Garth Ennis as a comic book writer. I think I think he's crap. He did a run on X-Men that was horrible. He did, which some people love, and I do not. He constantly does this whole thing of like, I'm gonna take the superheroes and do just crazy, stupid, crazy crap. And it works for the television show. I'll give you that. Like, I really enjoy The Boys. But like you said, it's kind of like the Tiger King, right? But at least this is fiction.
Sure.
Where like things happen and you're just like, oh, damn. Mm-hmm. Like, what did they do that? Like, because, it's literally like, what did we not ever see growing up in a comic book?
Yep.
Right.
And let me just do it anyway. And almost all of it is that way.
Well, I love the fact that it's, what if these people with superpowers weren't really the heroes you thought they were? Like, Homelander is essentially Superman if Superman was an asshole. Like, Homelander just does terrible things, kills random people for no reason, and you're just like, wait a minute, like, the whole country loves you and praises you, but you just killed a whole ton of people that you didn't have to.
It's a very interesting show. I like watching it. I fly through it when I get the episodes.
Yeah.
But overall,
morally ambiguous. That's how I would put it.
Yeah. And you can understand why everybody makes the decisions that they do, though, too. Sure. Like it definitely humanizes all aspects, the good guys and the bad guys.
Sure.
So, but yeah, it's entertaining.
Even in like season 2, a side character, as you learn how pure evil she is, you're just like, is she really? And then you hit a point where you're like, oh no, yeah, she's this crazy bitch.
So yeah, I definitely recommend it. It especially if you're into superheroes at all. Mm-hmm. Even if you're not into superheroes, I think that this flips it so much on its head that you might enjoy it. Jaybird, for instance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's way out there. Like it's crazy, but like in a good way. Stuff. It's very well written, but like stuff happens and you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe they put this in a show. Specifically with Homelander, he is the epitome of a piece of shit character, but you want to see where he goes. Are there any Star Trek fans on here? No?
Let me rephrase that. I like Star Trek. I'm not paying CBS to watch a television show.
I agree. I'm with you on that.
Okay. Picard was mentioned in the 2020 talk about good stuff. I agree. I really liked the show. The finale does something pretty groundbreaking for both Star Trek and the ability to continue Star Trek in a way. It's a slow burn. I will admit that, like, the first couple episodes they throw some action in there and you're like, oh, this is really cool. Like, there's some attacks on the Federation and some weird things are happening and Picard is getting brought back into the fold and like why do we care about Picard again? But then it slows down in the middle, and it in Cobra Kai, the fan service works for me. They don't go above and beyond. They just work some things in. Like, yes, Daniel went out of his way to go to Okinawa, but in Picard, I feel like they go out of their way to visit some of these side characters from the early Star Trek series. In the end, it sort of works, but just okay. But the end is pretty awesome. The whole setup of the Picard show is that androids and humans have basically started a war between each other since the Next Generation ended. So androids like Data are like outlawed to this point. Um, so it's a very slow burn of explaining how Picard was involved in what happened to cause androids and humans to not be on the same side anymore. And then it's a very slow burn to the end, which I love the finale of the show. Despite how slow it got, the finale is really amazing for Picard. I'm really looking forward to the next season whenever it happens. Any of the three of you watched Letterkenny?
I don't even know what the hell this is.
Yeah.
All right. Letterkenny is an Amazon Prime show. My friend Jay has been telling me for 2 years to watch it. It's been one of his favorite shows. I knew that hockey was involved in it. It's set in Canada. So last week I watched the first season because Jay and a few of my other friends and people in the Facebook group listed Letterkenny as one of their favorite shows of 2020. So I said, all right, well, I'm at least going to watch the first season before we do this episode to talk about it. It is a very weird kind of comedy. It's along the lines of like Drop Dead Gorgeous. Because it's set in, like, I understand Minnesota is not actually part of Canada, but it's just that very like dry, weird sense of humor. And like knowing Jay as well as I do, like the main character of this show, totally understand why he relates to him. I like the main character just doesn't talk a lot, drinks a lot of whiskey, says a lot of angry things. Like I totally understand why my buddy Jay would relate to this main character. The main female character, which is the main character's sister, she's super hot. She's fun to look at. But it's just a really weird show. And I don't think I'm smart enough for the comedy in the show. It doesn't have any actors or anybody that I know from anything. Like every episode I watch, I'm like, oh, that guy looks familiar. And I'll look him up and I'll be like, but he's never done anything that I've ever seen. Like they have an entire episode. It's very much like what It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was. It's
Never watched it.
Yeah, it's a very, you really have to like it to really like it. I'm not saying it's not funny. I'm just saying I don't know if I'm smart enough for the humor in it. I did laugh a lot because, like I said, it's a lot about drinking, fighting, hockey, and then just really stupid characters overall. Like there's two hockey players that just literally call each other like bro dude, like in every conversation they have with each other. But a lot of it's set in a bar. That's one of the main places that they drink at. It's interesting. I'm going to watch some more because I'm not willing to give up on it yet, but it was just really, it's a acquired taste of humor is how I'll probably put it. I don't think it's for everybody. I was texting Jay while I was watching, or after I finished it, and we talked a little bit about it, and he was like, dude, if you don't like it, just stop watching. But I'm like, no, I know you really like it, and I know a couple of my other friends are big fans of the show, so I want to see if it grows on me. But Letterkenny, it's an Amazon Prime show. It's 22-minute episodes. It's weird. It's weird and funny in a weird way. Like one of the main characters, his birthday every year since he was like 12 or 16 or something, they've thrown him what they call a soft birthday party. So they throw him like a birthday party, like if he was a 16-year-old girl. And like I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. They're trying to throw like, because these main characters are supposed to be like the toughest guys in town and the guys that like start fights and You know, if somebody's bad mouthing somebody else, they go in and they like fight with them. Like they're very violent characters, the main three guys. But like it's funny that one of the three of them, since he was a child, they've thrown him like birthday parties as if he's a 16-year-old girl. And so it's like, you know, it's his softest birthday party ever and whatnot. So it's just a weird kind of humor. Anybody else want to talk about anything from 2020?
The only other thing that I
covered
watched, I was going to say the only other thing I watched while we were in quarantine that I liked was something that came out in 2018. It was a short series on Paramount, same station that does Yellowstone. Was Waco. It was the story of all the stuff that happened in Waco, Texas.
Interesting.
And what I liked a lot about it was it didn't take one side over the other. So you had the main negotiator for the FBI wrote a book apparently about the whole situation, and they took his book, and then they took a book from one of the survivors of the whole situation that was a part of the I can't even remember the name of their cult or whatever you want to call it.
Michael Shannon was in that, and Taylor Kitsch. Yep.
Yeah. Michael Shannon plays the negotiator for the FBI. Taylor Kitsch plays the David Koresh. Sorry, yep. David Koresh. The girl who played Supergirl on the CW's in it, Melissa, whatever. You've got a Culkin. You got a Culkin in there.
Oh, nice. Shea
John Leguizamo. They've got quite a few people in it. But so they mesh together the FBI version and the Survivor version. Okay. They kind of mesh them together and put them together to make this long. I want to say it's 6 episodes. It's like 4.5 hours or almost 5 hours. Okay. I think it's 6 episodes. It was a miniseries, and I don't even remember why I turned it on, to be completely honest. But I remember a version of what happened. I remember seeing the complex burning through the news, and I remember hearing that it was some horrible tragedy, and that it was because of the cult. But I never looked into it because it was not something that I ever found interesting. But for some reason, I turned that on, and I ended up watching all 6 episodes. And it's quite interesting, kind of disgusting as far as like how things progressed and how things, if you want to believe the movie at all. And granted, everything is taken with a grain of salt because everything's based from 2 different points of view, and these guys are trying to make themselves somewhat look good, but the FBI doesn't look good very well at all through this version. But I had a lot of fun with it. It was entertaining. So if you're interested in it at all, I would recommend it.
I know that ID did a non-fictional version, like a documentary series on, it was just called Waco or something, but I watched that and it was very bizarre. So I'd be interested in watching a fictional version of what happened. Yeah. Evan, you got anything big from 2020, even if it wasn't released in 2020, that you watched during quarantine that made you happy?
I do. It actually is probably my favorite movie that I saw in 2020, but it came out in 2018. It's called Summer of '84.
Yes, that was so good.
I
watched it during quarantine.
Yeah. Who's in it? It's incredible.
Nobody's in it. Nobody you've ever heard of. It's a bunch of kid actors.
I mean, one of the kids is the kid from The Babysitter, Judah Lewis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In it. Okay, in which Sommer was, I think he was in Mad Men. That's really about where all I know him from. But
what was the
dark ending?
It's like a Rear Window type show where this kid thinks that his neighbor is this serial killer, and then like him and his little buddies try to figure out how to prove that his neighbor is a serial killer. And I was super surprised with it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it might be my favorite movie period at this point. I had such fun watching it, and it kept me on the edge of my seat, and then just the ending blew me away because I wasn't expecting it whatsoever.
The scene where they break into the neighbor's house and they're on the radios is so super tense. It's the most memorable scene I have from the movie.
I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, it's I think it's only like 90 minutes long. Like I think it's pretty short and quick, but it's a suspense thriller that it's a nostalgic. It came out like on the heels of Stranger Things, so it kind of got it kind of got just like pushed under the rug because it was just like, oh, another nostalgic 80s movie or whatever. But
so what is that on?
What did I watch?
I bought it off of Amazon Prime. I think it was like $7.
Okay.
But I don't think it's on any streaming services that I know of.
You can rent it for like $2 from Amazon Prime right now, but yeah, for other things, it's like $10 on most streaming services right now, unless it's on. I don't even know what Shudder.
Yeah, but no, here you go, Jaybird. If you have a library card, this is how I watched it. It's on an app called Hoopla, which Hoopla links with your library card. So because I have a Marion County library card, I get the. You download the app Hoopla, and then you log in with your library card, and you have access to like a bunch of streaming movies and stuff like that. And that's how I ended up watching this movie. You just create a Hoopla account, download the Hoopla app. You have to enter in your library card, but then you can rent movies from Hoopla.
Is it on your smart TV?
Yeah. You get like 4 rentals a month from Hoopla. So like, I rent one thing a month. Like randomly every month I'll find some movie I want to watch and it happens to be on Hoopla, so that's what I rent from them. But that's how I ended up watching this, and I didn't have to pay for it, and really enjoyed the movie.
Okay.
Jason, anything non-2020 related you watched last year that you liked?
I watched a show called, again, recommended by my parents. It's called, there are 2 seasons, and I think there may be a third, but it's called In the Dark.
Okay, I haven't heard of that.
And it was, oh my God, it's so funny. It was a CW show.
Oh.
And it's about this girl, and she's blind, and she her best friend gets murdered, and so she's trying to solve the murder, a blind chick.
Oh, okay.
And there are a lot of the first couple, you got to get to the first couple episodes just for setup, but there are a lot of twists and fun moments and like oohs and ahs, and I think it's like maybe 11 or 12 episodes each season or something. Right. And I laugh because it's the CW, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Like,
it's one of my top
CW shows.
Awesome. What's that? It's one of my top 3 TV shows. It's great. I love it.
Really? Nice.
Oh, you saw it too? You saw it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay, so like I recommended it to somebody, my friend Chris. He couldn't even get through the second episode. And I've been getting I'm trying to get my other friend Jenny to watch it. She hasn't given in yet. My parents, for months, have been trying to get me to watch this thing, and finally, I did after Queen's Gambit. It was my show to watch after Queen's Gambit, and I just got sucked in, and I loved it. Yeah.
The cop in that is the cop actually in Summer of '84.
Oh no shit!
Oh, from Mad Men, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
When you said that, when someone, I think Shane said Mad Men earlier, and that's who I thought of. So,
all right, Mayor. Anything not 2020 related that you've watched during lockdown that you liked?
It was mainly just Waco, man. Like,
okay.
That was my thing. So,
right.
And by the way, In the Dark is on Netflix.
Okay, I will
write that down, Shane.
Queue. Yeah, I will add that to my queue and give it a shot. I like murder mysteries. I like, long formed. I was a big fan of True Detective on HBO. So, well, I loved the first season. The second season rubbed me the wrong way, but I enjoy murder mystery type shows.
Good.
Thank you guys so much. First episode of 2021. I've absolutely loved having you guys on. The next 2 episodes have already been planned out. The next episode, Jason and I had decided was going to be a time travel episode. It's going to be called Shane and Jason's Time Travel Adventure. We're going to talk about time travel movies and how... There's like 40 of them that are on the Facebook group that people are voting on. We're going to pick the top 10 and talk about them. I might throw in one or two that I love. Well, actually, no, I don't even have to do that because they're getting pushed into the next episode after that, which is going to be a time loop episode. Because during the time travel talks, so many people wanted to talk about time loop episodes that we just kind of decided to make a second episode about that. So next week's episode is Shane and Jason's time travel adventure. And then the week after that is going to be Talk, Die, Repeat, where we do movie loop episodes or movie loop films. So after that is going to be episode 29, which, if you know the shtick of the show, we go back to 1999. And Jason and I have still yet to decide what we're going to talk about in 1999 this time, but it'll be something fun. It'll probably be music related this time since I guess we've already done soundtracks, but we've done the Razzies, we've done soundtracks, we've done the entire year of 1999. We've done.
What about the worst films of '99?
We did the Razzies episode for episode 19.
Oh, that is the Razzies. Jesus,
yeah,
you can tell it's late. I'm falling asleep. Sorry.
So yeah, no, well, and I mean, the Razzies are obviously fucking retarded because they voted Big Daddy to be the worst film of the year, so, and Adam Sandler to be the worst actor. So like, yeah.
Well, maybe you could change years.
No, that's the shtick of the show because I love 1999. We
always 1999.
Yeah, every 10 years we got to bring it up. That's the first year.
Okay.
That's the first year that I met you, that we started working together. It's my favorite year of film ever. Yeah.
Well, you could do the how about the Oscar winners of '99?
That's on the table. That's I've got a couple of 99 options written down, and the Oscars of 99 is one of them. The Grammys of 99 are one of them. If we wanted to do a music episode, so we'll see where it goes.
All right.
Sports of 99 is also another one. There was some big things that happened in 99 with World Cup stuff and basketball stuff and things like that. So I don't know. We'll see. Mayor and I will talk about it off camera. We'll pick a 99 topic to discuss. But anyway,
very good.
2021 is here. The cinema world has not yet recovered. The Broadway world has not yet recovered. So we're gonna probably keep doing this for a little bit, keep making more entertainment, and yeah. So thank you guys for being a part of this first episode. Thank you for everybody who's listened to this long. We talked about a lot of stuff from 2000, but it was stuff that made us happy. So thank you for listening.